Time being 6:30, I'll call the meeting to order. In the event of emergency, the building may be evacuated. You are required to vacate the building by the rear entrance and gather in the breezeway between the library and art gallery buildings. This is the council's designated emergency muster point. Under no circumstances is anybody permitted to re-enter the building until the all clear has been given and the area is deemed safe by authorised personnel. In the event of an evacuation, a member of council staff will assist any person present with a disability to vacate the building. Councillors, item 1.1, apologies of absence. Do we have any, Mr. Chief Executive Officer?
And everyone here is present.
Excellent, thank you.
As opposed to on screen.
Item 1.2, live streaming and recording. This council is being live streamed and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to be live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if and when you speak at this council meeting, that you ensure that you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Orange City Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council meeting. A recording of this council meeting will be made for administrative purposes. Item 1.3, acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge that the Wiradjuri people, who are the traditional. What am I doing? Traditional custodians of the land. My apologies. I don't know what happened then. I'd like to pay respect to elders both past, present of the Wiradjuri Nation and extend my respect to other Aboriginals who are here present with us, and I'll welcome everybody else as well. 1.4, declaration of interest. Does any councillors wish to declare any conflict of interest in any matter for consideration at this council meeting? Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to declare a pecuniary interest in the Finance Policy Committee. Item 2.1, there is a request for a donation to Housing Plus. I am the chairman of Octec Limited, and Octec own the building, and Housing Plus are a tenant, so I'll be leaving. I won't be voting on that particular item.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McDonald.
I've got a less than significant. Sorry, weird yellow crusty stuff. Item 2.5 of the PDC is it's.
Can we change the mic for the councillor, please? It's not glowing. Next councillor, Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I need to declare significant pecuniary interest in PDC items 2.2, 2.3, 2.5, 2.6 and 2.7 as my husband's environmental consulting work has done environmental consulting work for the applicants in these developments, and in item 4.3 of the regular meeting because I own a pharmacy that sells reusable menstrual products.
Councillor, can I just ask you to repeat those?
The PDC ones?
Yes, please.
Yep, so 2.2, 2.3, 2.5, 2.6 and 2.7.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Any other councillors? Yes, Councillor Steadman.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to declare a non-pecuniary interest in 2.1, the small donations to Housing Plus, as I am employed by that organisation.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ruddy.
Yeah, I have a less than significant non-pecuniary interest in the Planning and Development Committee item 2.2. I know one of the applicants and have for a long time, so I'll be leaving the room for that one.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further? Okay, we go to late item. Councillors, there's a late item before you. I need a resolution to permit the report be heard during the Finance Committee. 2.2, small donations, request for donations. It's an additional one. I'm happy to move that. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Power. And I also note an additional attachment for item 5.3, value of memberships, which has been uploaded into LG Hub this morning. and there's also a printed copy which has been provided to everybody tonight. Can I have a show of hands? All four? Unanimous, thank you. As I said, councillors, these will be discussed later during the meeting. Open forum. The council will now adjourn for the conduct of the open forum. When addressing the council, speakers at the public forum must comply with the Code of Meeting Practice and all other relevant council codes, policies and procedures. Speakers must refrain from engaging in disorderly conduct, publicly alleging breaches of the council's code of conduct, or making other potential defamatory statements. And I will ask that you all be respectful of this chamber and all here tonight. I will ask the CEO to read a letter first, and then we'll go to the public speakers, if that's okay.
So I'd like to draw your attention to a letter that's just been placed on your desk from Mrs. Deborah Quah of Ophir Road, Summerhill Creek. A letter that's very strongly opposed to the DA 19/1995, the DA Lot 4 Ophir Road. I won't read it, but as you can see, if you could make your way through that before the PDC, Mrs. Quah is strongly opposed to the DA and could not make it this evening. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Councillors, we'll look at item 2.2 in the FPC, small donations, request for donations. Additional, we have Mrs. Jenny Hazelton from Orange Push for Palliative. Mrs. Hazelton, would you like to come up to the microphone, please? You have 5 minutes and extension if required.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, before I start, can I just introduce to you the councillors? To my left here, I have Councillor Whitten, Councillor Greenhalgh, Councillor McDonald, Councillor Power, Councillor Mallard. Go across the table with Councillor Ruddy, Councillor Steadman, Councillor Judge, Councillor Duffy, Councillor Kinghorn and Councillor Peterson. You're right to go when you're ready.
Oh, thank you very much. Look, I'd certainly like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people as the traditional custodians of our land, and I would also like to acknowledge that this is probably our General Manager's last general meeting, the last opportunity that we have in a public forum to say thank you and best wishes. We're excited. Those who were at the Health Liaison Committee meeting, which was about 5 of you last week, I had the opportunity to tell you about the progress that's been made in palliative care, which has been a long battle, I would have to say. Those of you who've been on council or had an interest in it, you know, Orange Push for Palliative was formed in 2015. And for the last 8, almost 9 years, we have started from a very low base at the new hospital with no palliative care beds that came across from, remember the house ward, those of you who've been around for as long as I have in Orange and working. I worked at Orange Hospital, Orange Base. But when the hospital was built in Forest Road, there just didn't seem to be any room for palliative care. So there were no dedicated palliative care beds at the hospital. And we fought a very hard battle with the administration and the LHD to get the fact that palliative care and the rights and dignity and respect that people deserve when they are at the end of their life is recognised within the hospital, and there are special facilities available for people and their families to be comfortable and to have privacy and confidentiality. Now that battle, those of you who followed, has taken a long time, but I'm delighted tonight to say that we have real progress. In 2018, 1, we moved and with the assistance of Catherine Nowland, the General Manager of the hospital, we got 2 dedicated beds at the hospital. In the election in 2023, we got, Councillor Kinghorn so aptly described what we thought was crumbs, because there was such an inequitable distribution of resources across rural New South Wales in many areas, but certainly in palliative care. So we fought long and hard to now be at the point where the build of the 3 additional palliative care beds, making a total of 5, it will be finished by the end of the year and open in mid-January. Now, this has been in no small measure thank you to our Orange community, but also to thank Orange City Council, who have stood beside us shoulder to shoulder, if you can do that, shoulder to shoulder and standing beside, through all of this and given us 110 support. It's been in your strategic directions. Our General Manager has chaired meetings. We've had enormous interest from the councillors, present and recent, and we are very grateful for that. To this end, the 3 additional palliative care beds are going to be built in what is a cold shell, what's called a cold shell, in level 1 at Medical Ward B and C. Now, some of the councillors, Maria, have been to have a look at the space, and we have Zorna as builders actually building right now. They're excited, we're excited. There was a launch of the start of the build about 6 weeks ago. But what we are doing is that there are 5 beds. There are 3 new palliative care beds, architect designed, with a dining room, a lounge room, a courtyard which opens. None of the hospital windows open. I don't know if you know that, but this area, the windows in the courtyard, will be open to Orange today. But you can close them again. So it's very significant. We've been working.
Mrs. Hazelton, can I just hold you up there for a second? Get an extension. I've got an extension by Councillor McDonald. You're right to continue. Thank you.
Only take 5 minutes, but again, it's been a passion for us for a very long time, and we are really pleased. We've been working with the architects. We've been working with health infrastructure, with the LHD, and with Capital Insight, which are the builders, in the whole development of the planning. So the build and the FFE, fittings, furniture, etc., are covered by the World Class End of Life Care Fund. But what is not covered is we want to badge, because there'll be 3 rooms in the new area on level 1, and on the ground floor the 2 existing dedicated beds will be. What we want to do, and it's been unfortunate to be able to split the rooms. It was something that we never wanted to do, but we've worked out a pretty reasonable compromise, and we are, quite happy about it. But what we want to do, which is why I'm here tonight, is that you have an application in front of you for small project donations. We are starting a short, sharp fundraising to enhance, refresh the rooms downstairs, replace the lounge, which has had a very good workout in the last, both of them have had a very good workout. The dedicated beds downstairs have been very, very well received by our community. And if you could see some of the letters that we get, and also the comments when people just make spontaneous donations on our website thanking us for putting so much comfort in there. We have volunteers going in every day, and a lot of them are here tonight, and we make sure that the amenity is there. You know, there are nice biscuits. There's designer coffees and teas, particularly small meals out of the hospital. On weekends and in the evenings, it's very, very sparse. If you don't want to leave someone who is very ill and at this stage dying, you don't want to leave them, but you've got nothing to eat. So we provide small meals that are light, and they're very popular. Noodles are always really popular. Anyway, so what we're asking you tonight for is just to please consider continuing your support of us. We will be having a fundraising launch next Tuesday, the 12th of August, and we will be approaching corporates, the service clubs, community groups, and people with deep pockets. So it would be a wonderful thing and I think you all will have the flyer, and you will see that there is a list of the things that we would like to procure to ensure that people are going to be as comfortable as possible and as home as possible. Just an example of that is the late Alf Manchali. He donated 140 photographic images to us for use in the new palliative care space, both level 1 and ground floor. 140 images. He died suddenly, only 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he is greatly missed because he was so generous, so spontaneous, had so many ideas. So the community supports us 100%. We know, and we have enjoyed your support for many, many years. So what we're asking for is for you as council to kick off our launch and our donations, and we thank you for your hearing. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Hazelton. You failed miserably at staying within 5 minutes also. That understanding of the wonderful service that you do provide out there with palliative care, so thank you. Yes, councillors, we'll now go to our next speaker. It's regarding PDC item 2.3, development application DA 149/207 in brackets 21040 Pinnacle Road, and we have Melissa Street. Melissa, would you like to come up?
I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak today regarding this development application for 1040 Pinnacle Road. At the core of our concerns about this DA is the treatment of the property management plan, which is not a flexible guide. It was a legal requirement under a positive covenant to develop and operate the orchard at Pinnacle Road in accordance with under Section 88B of the New South Wales Conveyancing Act. The covenant and its related instrument cannot be changed without a formal legal process, yet the orchard was planted in 2010 in areas clearly shown as non-orchard zones in the PMP. In 2016, the oak tree buffer that was to protect us from spray drift and other agricultural impacts was also removed, both in contradiction with the PMP. The Council's report addressing this DA also refers repeatedly to the PMP being only a guide. The original PMP, the 2007 Notification of Determination and the Covenant never used that description. It's always in terms of it's a burden, it's a requirement. They have to develop and operate the operations on that block in compliance with the PMP. The DA and the Council report also claim the PMP has been updated, but the change appears to only be a new map and a cover letter attempting to reframe the deliberate planting decision in 2010 as a drafting error. This stance undermines the original intent of the PMP, which anticipated land use conflicts with our property and proposed mitigation strategies to minimise them. The DA and the council's report also makes reference to the DPI right to farm policy that's used to justify some of these changes as well. But the policy is quite clear in that the New South Wales government will only support the right to farm as far as these activities are lawful and responsible. However, over the past 2 years, we've documented to council multiple unlawful activities carried out by the owner's husband, Mr. Greg Perry, including a number of offensive noise complaints, spray drift of fertiliser, fungicides, pesticides entering our property, trespass of his netting infrastructure and his personnel, an improper installation of a diesel tank only 5 to 10 metres off our fence with no bunding, which is a safety risk. We've had drones flown over our property to get photos of the netting. He's also an unauthorised prohibited poultry operation on that property. The proposed modifications to the orcharding practice also introduce rain netting, which is not a typical development in this region and requires significantly more spraying, labour and machinery, further impacting our property. Finally, the DA modification protects the proponent's building site with wide buffers and no blockage of his city view landscape views, but while shifting operational impacts to our property, and we've had no buffer and no consultation through any of these changes that were implemented. We ask the council to uphold the legal and planning frameworks established in the 2007 approval. However, if the DA is approved tonight, we request that conditions be imposed requiring genuine collaboration with all parties to work towards resolving the significant land use conflicts along our shared boundary. Thank you again for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Councillors, our next speaker is with regards to item PDC item 2.2, development application DA 19/1995-2, Lot 4, Ophir Road, and we have Elizabeth Griffin. Would you like to come to the lectern? Thank you. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, councillors, once again, having listened to my concerns about the development which is going to occur out there. Because, as you know, in the past I've written a letter and I have addressed you folks beforehand. Further this, I also realise that Orange City Council have given permission for the development to go ahead. But I just wish to point out a few more little reminders to consider, please. Excuse me. Number one, oh dear. Okay, it's okay. Okay. Right. Number one, the park's heritage and place in Australia's early history is not only is it the birthplace of Banjo Paterson, but the contribution that whole area there to the whole area has played a very important part in the development and the growing of the township of Orange. Number two, I've spoken at length about the potential environmental issues out there, being the flooding and the fire potential, which have been identified in previous reports. And number three, taking into account the recommendations that are outlined in the late Professor Jack's report on the park and the surrounding conservation area. I want you to, I hope some of you have had a chance to actually catch up with this document. It's a very comprehensive one. So please, this list includes the issue for the cartilage and the obligations and the constraints that are outlined in the previous letter. And also refers to his recommendations on the setting and the landscaping of the structures within the park, and this is under policy 7.5.1, which follows that the present boundaries of the Patterson Memorial Park should be maintained. The older, larger boundaries of the park property may be appropriately interpreted. And the policy and the recommendations out of that is that maintain the view lines to Summerhill Creek from the park and maintain the clumps of trees, remnants of the former estates, future development of the adjacent subdivisions. Do not allow any large structures to be constructed between the park and Summerhill Creek. I wouldn't advise it because it's a floodplain. It may be appropriate to indicate that through the fencing or the use of the boundary posts that the former boundaries of the outer paddocks and of the larger properties. In the reports presented to Orange City Council, there is reference to the impact on traffic along Ophir Road. It reports that the traffic on the road is that some 1,200 vehicles use that road each day. This is expected to increase by 20%. Where did these figures come from? I was on the Community Traffic Safety Committee for years, and when I asked, could I have a counter put on the road, I was told it was a low priority and not necessary. I just would like to know where those figures do come from. But at this point too, I'd also point out that before the toilets and the shelters in the park could be constructed, investigations into the amount of asbestos in the ground had to be tested and reported on. As I understand, there is a naturally occurring asbestos buildup in the soil in the prescribed area for this development. Please refer to the report that was done by Council and the policy that was developed on this issue. And I trust that Council will protect and preserve this very important heritage area. And just before I finish, I also too would like to wish David all the best in his retirement.
Much.
Thank you. Council will now resume for the meeting. Councillors, staff, members of the gallery, I would just like to say a few words if I can. As we've alluded to tonight, it is our CEO's last meeting. No need to rise. I can honestly say it's been an honour and a bittersweet moment to stand before you today to mark the end of an extraordinary chapter in the life of our city. Tonight, we pay tribute to a leader whose dedication, resilience and vision has shaped Orange in the ways which will be felt for generations. David Waddell has served as CEO of Orange City Council since 2019. And his impact over those 6 years, and indeed his 15 years of service to Council, has been nothing short of remarkable. David stepped into the CEO role during a time of great uncertainty. He guided Council through harsh years of drought, helping us manage resources wisely and support our staff, community and businesses. He has led us through the challenges of COVID-19 with calm and clarity, ensuring our community remain connected, supported and safe. He also led us through drought and nearby flooding. Under David's leadership, Orange has experienced a period of extraordinary growth. His championed sustainable development and his commitment to innovation saw Orange become one of the first regional cities in New South Wales to transition to 100% renewable energy for major site and street lighting, a bold move that reduced our carbon emissions by up to 40%. David's tenure has been marked not just by strategic achievements, but by deep care for the people of Orange. He has worked tirelessly to ensure our services were inclusive, our infrastructure forward-thinking, and our community resilient. His love for Orange is evident in every decision that he has made. His legacy will live on in parks, streets, and programs, and now define our community, not least of which will include the new Conservatorium Planetarium, which will be the most transformative cultural infrastructure projects in our city's history. Another ambitious project, the Orange Regional Sports Precinct and Parklands, will transform the city's sporting cultural position in Orange as the region's premier sporting hub. It is a testament to David's patience and determination that this project continues to progress despite its obstacles. The Redmond Place development, one of the city's most significant residential developments our city has seen, will deliver more than 300 new homes for the city and people of Orange with a vision to address housing affordability in the city. But through all of this, David would be the first person to acknowledge that council staff who have made and will continue to make these visions and ambitions a reality. I speak on behalf of the staff when I say David will be missed in the corridors, in the council offices, as he regularly visits the depots, sheds and work sites for a chat. He has done an impeccable job of building a solid workplace culture throughout council with his engaging style and his genuine interest for each and every employee, and his uncanny ability to remember everybody's names. On a personal note, David has been a steady hand and a thorough advisor and passionate advocate for our city. David, as you step into the next chapter, one filled with family, new opportunities, and well-earned rest, know that you will leave our city behind in a stronger, greener and more united because of your leadership. I will miss your guidance, direction, support and sense of humour. I'll miss you coming into my mayoral office, walking around in circles, asking questions and answering them yourself, but also acknowledging King Charles as you departed the room. But most of all, I would like to thank you for being honest, genuine, and always a calm figure for not only myself, but for council and our staff. On behalf of Orange City Council, the people of Orange, I thank you and wish you all the very best. Thank you. Would you like to say something, Mr. Waddell?
Well, you know me.
That's a no.
I've written this speech 50 times and it was so long, but now it's so short. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for your kind words. That's a lovely summary of the last 6.5 years. Council, I'm a faceless bureaucrat, as you know. I'm not here to pass judgment or blow my trumpet or to say anything other than to thank you and to thank you for those kind words. I would also like to thank the 4 mayors I've served under, yourself, Hamling, Red Kidd, the great John Davis. I served under John, not as CEO, but as a director, and boy, did that man teach me a lot. Let me around a bit. But mainly tonight, I'd like to thank the 800 odd staff of Orange City Council for the support they've given me, for the camaraderie, the great friendship over the last 6.5 years. I mean, it's so bittersweet for me. I'm just going to miss so many people, and I'm going to be left with a golden chocolate Labrador. So I'll be in for coffee every Monday if you want to have a chat. There's parts of this job I'll miss. There's parts I won't. It's a very tiring job, very full on, but I've really enjoyed it. It's been an absolute honour to say, I was CEO of Orange. It's just so nice to look back and say I did that. I'd like to thank my fellow directors who, have just been so supportive, and they do great work, and hats off to you guys, because without you guys, I'd like to thank Kath Davis, I think he's here. Kath runs the joint, I don't. And Janetta Constantine, I hope you appreciate how much the council, he also runs the joint.
Can I just tie you up there? Can I have an extension, council?
Oh.
And to you councillors, thanks so much. I wish you all the best. Keep in mind that it's all about Orange. Do your best, and All the best to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. CEO.
Oh, mate, you went pages.
Councillors, we go to item number 2, mirror minutes. On page 5, there are no mirror minutes. I'm confused here, or is...
Confirmation of the minutes.
Okay. Item 3.1, minutes of the ordinary meeting of Orange City Council held on the 15 July 2025. There's a recommendation on page 6. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Greenhalgh, second by Councillor Kinghorn. Any discussion? Councillor Kinghorn.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to check in relation to the resolution to temporarily close Ash Street. I forgot to ask at the time. So Helen White spoke to us before the meeting, representing the businesses out there. I'm just wondering what we're doing or what our plans are to keep open communications with her. What regular updates will she get? Is that standard, or do I need to specifically ask you to do it?
I've got this one. Yes, we met after the meeting, and I actually personally met with Ellie Bryce, you know, the comms lady, and we're going to target the Smoko Shed as a key focal point of our comms, and there'll be regular meetings with the Whites.
Thank you.
Who hopefully, and they were really happy after the meeting. Jan Sharp went and met them and had a chat to them. Hopefully they'll help us disseminate information as well.
Thank you. Councillor Duffy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is to the director on page 10 is the resolution of the decision, Director Greenham, as regards to the decision on closing of the street railway crossing. And I know the director informed us that there was a member of the Transport New South Wales on our traffic committee. And with the priority of the road changing, my question is, does that officer have the ability to overturn the Office of National Rail Safety Regulator and the New South Wales rail safety laws?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think we might take that on notice. That's quite a complex situation to unfold.
Actually, I might ask Director Greenham if he's able to answer that question, or do you need to take it on notice?
My powers are waning.
Just remind Council that we're closing Ash Street. We're not actually closing the Ash Street crossing as such. The realignment of the road has been passed by the Traffic Committee, and so we're not actually closing a road. And under the new Roads Act and the changes that were brought in from the 1st of August, where the local traffic committee is now disbanded and there's a local transport forum going forward. We have increased powers under that arrangement, where Transport will no longer vote on our proposals. We'll have full delegations, but they will have the opportunity to address their concerns within that local transport forum. Thank you.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Duffy?
Not really, but I'll come back to it a bit later on.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Being none, a show of hands, please. Unanimous. Councillors, we are now adjourned for the conduct of the policy committees, and I now hand over to Councillor McDonald for Planning Development Policy Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to open the Planning and Development Committee meeting for the 5th of August 2025 with the time being 9 minutes past 7. I note we've got some declarations of interest. Councillor Ruddy on item 2.2, Councillor Kinghorn on 2.2, 2.3, 2.5, 2.6, 2.7. and myself with a less than significant non-pecuniary on 2.5. Is there anyone else, Councillor Roddy?
I made a mistake. It's not 2.2, it's 2.3 for me.
2.3,
Yes,
okay.
sorry.
No, that's okay. Do we get it right? Any other declarations that need to be made that we missed? Easy done. Alrighty. Item 2.1, recommendation is on page 5. These are items approved under the delegated authority of
There's a
council.
recommendation, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor Steadman. Is there any discussion on this item? Yep, in that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, raise a hand. Unanimous, thank you. Item 2.2, Councillor Kinghorn can hop out for this one and the next one. So item 2.2 is development application DA 19/1995 in brackets 2 for Ophir Road. Recommendation is on page 11. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Power, seconded by Councillor Ruddy. Any discussion? No? Councillor Mallard?
Thanks. Question through you, first of all, Chair. And I appreciate we had some info. Several of us went on the site visit and asked some questions and asked for some information, and we had some information circulated this afternoon addressing a couple of the areas where we had questions, and I guess one of mine was about capacity to, and I think you had a question, Chair, as well, about, you know, what sort of capacity we've got to set parameters and conditions on what sort of development might come there, noting that this proposal at the moment is the subdivision, and we've been told really that because it's a modification of the existing 30-year-old approval, that we are really only assessing the modification, so it puts us in a tricky position. I wanted to ask through you, thinking ahead to the step when development applications come for construction on these sites if the subdivision proceeds, because it is in an area of heritage significance and there are locally listed heritage items nearby, what assessment will happen at that stage in terms of how the development might impact upon the heritage character of that site? Can you talk us through, I guess, what that DA process looks like?
Director Hodges.
Through you, Chair, thank you for the question. Two different parts, two different ways a house and an ancillary development could occur. First one would be the most common way that we see here is the development application process, which we're pretty familiar with. When we get one of those processes, it is a requirement that they address heritage matters adjoining the site and also in the proximity to the site. So development applications, which are the higher level of assessment we do, are required to consider the heritage impacts of the proposal. As we go through planning law in the state, the next level down to that is the more simplistic style of getting an approval, a 10-day type fast track approval of the state called complying development. It has preset standards and the limitations on that gets pretty minimal. There's no assessment like a DA. So that applies throughout the whole state and would have housing going out there under complying development approvals. That doesn't have to formally acknowledge and have assessed matters of heritage significance or other environmental impacts that are beyond the scope of the criteria set in the state environmental planning policies for complying development. So yes, there can be residential and ancillary development to that wouldn't come before council potentially. So, but our most control would be if they were development applications. That's when we do control it.
There is existing within the recommended conditions of approval. There is an item in there about architectural or heritage sort of survey if something is found, though, is there not?
I certainly, I think from memory, is about condition 30.
Thank you, archaeological.
Yep. So there's certainly some controls there that have been additional onto that. So it also includes not just the archaeological ones. One of the speakers mentioned naturally occurring asbestos. So there's controls about that. So it's unexpected fines. There's two conditions in the consent. I think it's about condition 32. Moment, just flicking through to the end. But it certainly is about controls of that. Additional to that as well in relation to the asbestos, 30 and 31, thank you, Chair. Asbestos is managed under the Work Health and Safety regulations, so there's controls on that in a hierarchy exceed the council's development consent anyway. So there are controls around there. So and that goes to the previous council meeting. One of the submitters said they were concerned about unexpected fines of finding heritage items under the management plan that was discussed beyond the curtilage of the site, so beyond the fence line. That's where that condition 3031 was important, because it did say you are digging outside, like anywhere on this development, as you're constructing and you come across items of heritage significance, they have to legally stop. So both under that consent, but also that would be potentially under the Heritage Act as well. If it's associated with that heritage item, there may be some archaeological restrictions on it. So there are two controlling conditions about that. Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Councillor? I would just like to speak to this a little bit, particularly to address Ms Griffin's in the open forum. There is, in the planning here, there is definitely the building envelopes, so that around from the Patterson Memorial Park, gosh, it's contagious, Mr Mayor, this stumbling over words thing. From the Memorial Park through to Summerhill Creek, there's no building envelope allowed. Okay, so that view, according to this plan, served. Okay. I do also note that in the additional the new conditions that there's a 20-metre buffer around the rather than a 10-metre buffer around the perimeter of the park too. What I do have a bit of a question about, and I have raised this with you, but I just wanted you, Director, to address it so that everyone else could hear the response. The pre-existing condition 8 of the 1995 approval said that the land within the 400-metre buffer area shall be densely planted with trees and shrubs that will effectively provide for noise attenuation, litter screening, dust screening and odour attenuation prior to the release of stage 1. Plan detailing such planting shall be submitted for the approval of the manager planning approvals. Now, obviously that didn't happen. There's 30 years from 30 years worth of growth of vegetation, that buffer zone would have been beautifully planted out by now. How did we miss it? I guess, could you comment on that? Because obviously that's a significant condition that was not met, and it was supposed to be done prior to the release of stage over the creek.
Difficult to guess what happened 30 years ago, certainly. So this is relating to the areas of Clifton Grove on the northern side of the creek line there, so certainly around, I think it might be Rossi Drive type area. Our controls that we have nowadays to restrict the issue of a subdivision certificate, so which is the certificate they get to take to the Lands Titles Office and get the blocks registered and made real under the Real Property Act and the Conveyancing Act. The important part for us here is that it does maintain, we've still got the 400-metre buffer, which is mentioned a number of times in the consent through a number of different conditions. Super important to the operation and the ongoing operation of the Resource Recovery Centre, our waste depot, as it's called in this thing, or garbage depot. So that was really important. There's been no change to that. Trees would have been certainly nice as a screen, just in the visual look. We can catch up to that before we release this, the subdivision of the next lot, to make sure we've got some tree planting in there, but that will take time. Realistically, they're not, trees do not stop noise, so that's a bit of a funny condition where we're trying to guess what happened 30 years ago, but there's better controls now, so there will be buffering planning. I will point out there is some restrictions nowadays since the start of the year when new bushfire mapping and guidelines came out that kind of we're finding with and all over the city that's causing us not to plant things out. So they'll have to plant in accordance with that, and also the bushfire controls in the later conditions as well, which is that new report. So it's going to be a bit tricky, this one, for the developer to work on, but it will still require them to give us some buffer zones around it.
Okay, so even though they haven't done that years ago, that they still will need to do that.
Yes.
Councillor Duffy.
Yes, thank you, Chair. To the Director, my question is, with the subdivision on the western side, which has been approved by Council, you know, we look at the traffic flow up through there. Now, the traffic coming out of this subdivision, I would imagine, wouldn't affect, would use that access across towards Bunnings and those shops up there. Is there any issues that could re-raise there?
Through you, Chair. So to date, there haven't been any approval of subdivisions to join. So what we're talking effectively here is Miriam Drive, Scarborough area, so off Leeds Parade, past Bunnings. There's a residential subdivision there. At some stage in the future, it'll probably eventually come through and join up in Ophir Road there somewhere. So Councillor Duffy's referring, as I understand it, to the potential for a rat run of all these houses through Clifton Grove and this site coming back up through those residential areas and into Leeds Parade. So the housing strategy has identified only part of the area. We're on the very closer to Miriam Drive, not bringing down into this near Ophir Road, so there's no connection proposing there just yet. We certainly are talking to developers about development in the area, but nothing about roads, and that's certainly not approved, so that will be beyond the scope of it. Would it significantly change the traffic volume, as in the number of houses that are going in here? No, it's 12 lots, I think it is, so there's only 12 movements or up to 60 movements. You could even guess if people go home for lunch, but there's not a significant amount of change to traffic volumes anywhere on those roads.
Any other questions or discussion? In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, raise a hand. Those against? Or against? Councillor Ruddy, are you staying in for the next item?
Oh, yeah, no, I'll go. I tuned out for a second there, sorry.
It's okay. Item 2.3 is development application DA 149/2007 in brackets 2 1040 Pinnacle Road. Recommendation is on page 86, I believe. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you, Mayor. Any second? No one seconded? Thank you, Councillor Power. Any discussion?
I've got
Councillor Peterson had his hand up first, so
I need to say, just after the contribution of Melissa from the floor, if there is a way that we can, that recommendation that council is still available to work through whatever land use disputes we can. There's limits to what we can do, but what we can, we'd like to do.
I might get Hodges. Did you want to make a comment on that in terms of enforcement?
The Speaker asked for an additional condition to be put on the consent. It's probably beyond the scope of this one. Again, it's another modification like the previous item, where we've got quite restricted on what we can and can't do. Property management plans are very much focused on what's the minimum infrastructure to install to make agricultural production viable, and so it goes beyond the scope of what we're looking at tonight. Certainly we're interested, though, of the ongoing land use conflict that we've got out there. Myself and the Manager of Development Assessment were out there yesterday afternoon having a look as well, so we'll continue to work with both the applicant and the neighbours, trying to get some common ground between the two of them. Unfortunately, these things do take time. There are conflicts of the extent they are, but it goes to the the major focus in those agricultural zones is the agricultural use. While we do have limitations on subdivision, so we have a subdivision from the early 80s, that is causing impacts, but we'll continue to work with both sides to try and get a solution there outside the consent.
Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. To the Director again, I'm quite aware that farmers have the right to farm, but they don't have the right to impact on their neighbours. Now, you're talking about this situation here. The issue of buffer zone is not in consideration in this matter at all?
There's a bit of a buffer zone there, and it's been replanted. So Street mentioned that the oak trees had been removed. There've certainly been some large trees taken out of there for reasons beyond that was happened before we got involved in it in the complaints. But when I was there yesterday, I saw there'd been a number of silver birches planted and some type of lowlandy type pines planted along their boundary. So will eventually grow up. The farm plans that are being in under discussion are identified there on page 87 of that report, and you can see there is there were some buffers in there, which is now again replanted. Effectively, there was orcharding very close to the boundary as it was, so it's a tricky one to try and manage, and that's where we've gone to the indication in the farm plan of what was there. Buffers there will eventually get back. We'll continue to work with the farmer to say, because neither side wants this ongoing impact, so we'll try and do some mediation with them.
Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question through you to the Chair, to the Director. Relationship between covenants and the assessment that the planning team do when they're doing that, are they aware of those covenants? Do they appear anywhere in the searches at all?
We certainly see them. Yep. There is provisions under our local environmental plan that also don't require council to give full consideration to them because they're effectively civil agreements between parties. It is supposed to be a restriction on the land, but again, it gets back to the original subdivision back in the 90s that occurred was a block that was smaller than the normal rural size blocks for that zone. So the only way they could do that at the time was to prove that the intensive use of that land had a minimum infrastructure investment into it to make it sustainable into the future. So the property management plans, like you can read them and you certainly see it in the conditions that say you must farm in accordance with the plan. Effectively, they are written to say, those plans are written to say this is the minimum amount of infrastructure that you need to install to prove that this block was viable and could allow a smaller subdivision. So, gone down a rabbit hole there. Sorry, Chair. I'm coming back, Minister.
Try saying traditional.
There must be something up there on the front bench that's yeah. I understand. I suppose my question was for the gallery and for other councillors. I sort of am aware of how they work, but it's good to highlight sometimes that the covenants aren't as powerful as some people think they may be. Covenants when assessing a planning, but by and large, this particular DA. If I'm correct through you, Chair, to the Director, is they've done farming activity to be able to do a smaller subdivision under the old olives or something like that. Yeah.
And when they planted the trees, they didn't require the development consent of council, so they're allowed to just go off and do the additional trees.
Okay.
Make no mistake, the house is very close to the boundary. It's less than 10 metres away from some of it and 20 metres from others. So it's close. It's going to be a challenge for us going forward, and we'll take a lot of resource to try and help both sides. We do want, important for us to have our high quality farming land protected. Also, we need to look after our residents around there. So pretty keen to get involved in this one going forward to see what we can organise for them. But it's difficult when we've got a house so close.
Director. Any other questions or discussion? Put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? Liz Deadman against? Alrighty, thank you. Can we get Councillor Ruddy back in, please? And Councillor Kinghorn for this one, please.
Absolutely. Stop talking.
It must be the high altitude. You people looking down on us here. Oh, yeah, that's probably.
Cool.
Okay, councillors, we've got item 2.4, development application DA1/2025 in brackets 1, 2 Cherrywood Close. Recommendation is on page 225. Do I have a mover?
Move
and
the
a seconder?
recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Whitten, and seconded by Councillor Greenhalgh. Any discussion on this item? Oh, excellent. Alrighty. All those in favour? Unanimous. Excellent.
She didn't get to stay for long.
Councillor Kinghorn, get your steps up. Okay, item 2.5 is development application DA 100/2025 in brackets 1, 59 to 67 Bathurst Road. It's Kinross Wallaroo School.
Happy to move it.
Thank you,
I'll second that.
Mayor, and seconded by Councillor Whitten. Any discussion on this? Excellent. Raise a hand. Unanimous. Fantastic. Item 2.6. Post-exhibition report, amendment to Orange Development Control Plan 2004. Nope, she's still out for this one. Oh, would you say when? 277 Cargo Road Site-Specific Development Control Plan. Recommendation is on page 406. I have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Duffy moves, seconded by Councillor Power. Any discussion? All those in favour, raise a hand. Unanimous. Item 2.7. Amendment to Orange Development Control Plan 2004, Site-Specific Development Control Plan 274 Leeds Parade. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Recommendation is on page 430.
I'll move
Thank you,
that.
Councillor Peterson, seconded by Councillor Whitten. Any discussion? Excellent. All those in favour, raise a hand. Unanimous. Can we have Councillor Kinghorn back in, please? Okay, councillors, we've got item 2.8, planning proposal, rural land boundary adjustment clause. Recommendation is on page 442. Moved by Councillor Mallard, seconded by Councillor Ruddy. Any discussion? Everyone's happy? All right. All those in favour, raise a hand. Yeah, no. Well, briefly. That was brief. Item 2.9, planning proposal, Orange LEP 2011 administrative amendment, housekeeping amendment. Recommendation is on page 464.
Happy to move it.
Moved by Councillor Mallard, seconded by Councillor Power. Any questions? Discussion? Anything? Councillor Mallard.
Yeah, I'll just say thanks to the staff. It's good to see I know in my time on council we've had these secondary dwelling applications that the staff have always had to write an explanation of how we can get around the provisions to let something that was pretty sensible happen in places like Clifton Grove. So yeah, those sorts of changes that we're now tidying up look good, as well as including creative industries in the E2 commercial centre zone will be a nice addition in terms of recognising the types of uses that we want to encourage in the centre of the city. Thanks.
Any other discussion? I'll put the item. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. That can start
Chair.
Councillor Whitten.
I'd just like to take this opportunity to refer to a Green director of planning back when I was the chair for about 8 years when he first started on council, Mr. Waddell. And Mr. Waddell thought he also got a vote. So we actually voted on some of the DAs. He did say I was a, what did you say? I'm a ratepayer, I can vote. So I just wanted to reflect back on the time when David, it was a pleasure working with you, David.
A long way.
For the long times, yeah. There was a question from a councillor on one of the sessions where the answer I thought was pretty good, where he said, maybe if I stood on my head, councillor, it would look that way. Yes, one of the DAs. I don't recommend you do that, councillor. I mean, Mr. Director.
Challenge accepted. All right. I'll close the Planning and Development Committee meeting with the time being 7:36. And I will hand over to Councillor Mallard to conduct the environmental sustainability policy. Something about sitting up here.
Thank you, Councillor McDonnell. I'd like to open the Environmental Sustainability Policy Committee meeting on the 5th of August 2025 with the time being 7:37 p.m. Item 1.1, declarations of interests. I didn't hear any earlier, unless anyone has thought of something they need to declare. We'll move to item 2.1, Companion Animals Community Committee minutes of the 5th of June 2025. There's a recommendation on page 5. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Thanks, Councillor McDonnell and Councillor Steadman. Any discussion on this item? There being none, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Anyone against? Carried. Thank you, councillors. That concludes.
Rising, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Duffy.
A matter arising regarding the companion animals and dogs, and I just wonder, could we have a report come to council as regards to the parking on Escort Way, just above the proposed roundabout there? There's a lot of cars, and rightfully so, they're using the dog run that's there, but there's a lot of cars just willy-nilly parking there on various different occasions. I'm just wondering if anything can be done to tidy that up, or we're going to wait for the roundabout to go in. Take it on notice.
We'll take it on notice. Thank you, Councillor. It's the off-leash area we're talking on, the Escort Way there near the intersection of the Northern Distributor Road on
Lombardy Way.
Lombardy Way, yeah, thanks.
Leash Park, yep. Okay. Now I will close the Environmental Sustainability Policy Committee meeting with the time being 7:39 p.m. and I'll call on Councillor Peterson to conduct the Finance Policy Committee.
Thank you. I might just move it. I'd like to open the Finance Policy Committee meeting on the 5th of August with the time being 19:39. Items 1.1, Declaration of Interests. I note item 2.1 declarations from councillors Witten and Steadman. Any other interests that need to be made? In that case, I will move on to item 2.1, small donations, request for donations. Recommendation on page 6.
Leave
One
the room
recommending.
on item A, Chair.
Sorry, sir?
We're doing in seriatim.
Yeah, you're going to ask if the items be heard and voted on in seriatim. Do I have a mover for that? Thank you, Councillor McDonald, and second by Councillor Kinghorn. For that motion, or for? Against? Given not carried. So yes, dealing with items in part 2 separately. 2.A is first. Councillor Witten and Steadman.
Chair, can I also just leave the room because I'm on the board of Housing Plus for this one?
All right, so item 2.A is to donate $2,500 to Housing Plus to contribute to purchasing vouchers to use as prizes for fundraising activities at the White Tie Ball. Do I have a mover? By Councillor Greenhow, I'm quite happy to second. Any discussion on this item? Given no discussion, I will put the motion. All for? Any against? Carried. And I might take the opportunity to point out there is a Housing Plus fundraiser support Friday morning, a cyclothon, if anyone is interested in town. But a hand cycle and leg cycle, so call those other two councillors back in. Please. Well. All right, so item 2B is to donate $962 to the Orange Edible Garden Trail Incorporated to contribute to a financial buffer to ensure continuation of the project in the event of cancellation. I have a moved by Councillor Power, seconded by Councillor Mallard. Any discussion? Yes, Councillor McDonald.
A question through you probably to the Director, if possible, Chair. Given this is a request for a financial buffer, what happens if they don't need it? Do we get it back? Do they not get it at all? Like, wondering the logistics of that.
Mr. Chair, we've not had one of this nature get through the chamber to a point, mainly specifically to do with the clause which talks about not providing insurance, and that's the premise of why that sort of clause exists. So at this stage, it would be that it would go and it would become a fundraising effort for them, and they would be able to carry over it. We don't have an ability to request for it back in the current processes. There's an acquittals process where they tell us how they spent it. If they didn't spend it, then it would be up to them to return it in their good nature.
Thank you.
Discussion, Councillor Mallard.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm happy to support this one. I do note we're approving a significantly lower amount. They began by requesting $2,000. It's been revised down, and I appreciate the staff explaining why that's the case. This is an event that's run for the last couple of years. I think it's a really good, positive thing to be doing, to encouraging people to be looking at how everyone, whatever size garden you've got, whatever size yard you've got, whether you're part of a community garden group or whether you're just doing something in your own backyard, that you can begin making yourself more sustainable and growing your own food. Yeah, I think given the low amount that we're approving, I know they do look to sell tickets for the event as well, but hopefully, yeah, it's helping set it up on a sustainable footing that they'll be able to keep on running the event. And I do appreciate that, obviously, being an outdoor event, it's very susceptible to the weather having impacts in particular years. But I think as a fairly small donation in the end, I'm comfortable supporting it. Thanks.
Councillor Witten.
Thank you, Chair. Look, it is a question through you to the Director, but I think it may have been answered. My concern was that in the write-up from the applicant, it was like they were wanting council to underwrite the event subject to, if it failed, we're they've got their money back from council that to underwrite it. That was my concern, is that we're underwriting an event. Should it not go ahead because of the weather, they're not out of pocket.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Essentially, you're correct, Councillor. Basically, the request has been reduced by the amount of insurance because that's not allowable under the policy, or the recommendation is to reduce it to the amount below that. But yes, essentially the request is that council would cover all the costs of the event, and that then any of the ticket sales would then be to the profit of the ongoing events, and the contribution amount that they show there is actually the profits that they've got from the previous event. So they are showing that they have the potential to become self-sustainable as they go ahead, but effectively, yes, the premise that you could interpret it as being us underwriting this particular event for that amount is correct.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? That I will put the motion. All for? Against? Okay, the motion passed. Thank you. So the late item is 2.2, small donations.
To move it with an amendment.
Well, can I have a seconder?
Yeah.
Okay, second by Councillor Whitten. Any discussion on this item? Maybe you should hear the amendment.
Yeah, I'd like to move an amendment. The Chair, after listening to Mrs Haleson speak, I note that in the application she asked for $10,000 and Council recommended an amount of $2,500, and I note that we have a budget of $90,000. But I think this is a rare opportunity, councillors, to be part of a very significant fundraiser in the community. And whilst there is a budget of $90,000, I know that council before have sought to offer a bit more, and I'd like to ask council to consider increasing that amount of $2,500 to $5,000, which would be half of what the applicant had asked for. And seconded by Councillor Duffy. Sorry.
Councillor Whitten had already seconded.
Sorry. The reason I say that is because after listening to the speaker and having had the speaker come into the office and produce some documents, I found that there's a very strong committee behind Push for Palliative. And as councils will be aware, this has been going on for a number of years. And I think that as a council, if we can do our little bit to help progress this and give them the opportunity to have that initial fundraise which they want to have, and I know that there's a lot of this will be going into promotional material, things like that. I think that we can be doing our bit for a really worthwhile cause, and I think that everybody deserves to die with dignity, and I think this is our opportunity to be part of that. So I would encourage councillors to support that amendment to $5,000.
Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Chair. In supporting the Mayor's $5,000, just like to say that he's truly correct. In the 20 years I've been on council, we have worked really hard to support the volunteers, Jenny and Janice, to get, and for the life of me, I cannot understand from both sides of politics why they haven't supported this having a palliative care unit in Orange. So I congratulate the hard work that the volunteers have done, and Jenny and Janice, and the member for Orange, Phil Donato, and the current government for what they've done to date. I remember a good mate of mine who was a councillor here for 26 years was an advocate for this passionately. He was very passionate. He fought very hard for this. And unfortunately, he succumbed to an illness where he passed away at home. And I remember sitting with him and we talked about, it's ironic that he fought for a palliative care beds in the hospital, and he himself was in dire need of those things himself. So I think this, from a community point of view, the community are passionate about this above all other things, because unfortunately all of us will be touched by this, or some of us may require it in the future. I hope it's a long time in the future. But I think it's a worthy cause, and we should support it as best we can and as strong as we can. So I support your motion, Mr. Mayor.
Greenhow.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm 100% in support of this. Thank you to Jenny and the committee for what you've done. Even the addition of the cuddle beds. You really don't know how quickly your life can change in an instant. Having recently lost my dad, to have those facilities available locally and have that dignity and that privacy is so important. And, I 100% support giving the $5,000. I think it's so important that we have this in our community, and this is just the start. Like, it's with an ageing population, the need for this is just going to increase. So 100% happy to support, and thank you for all you do for the community.
Councillor Duffy.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm 100% behind this as well. I would have supported the Mayor if he wanted to go higher. But I think it's that important to us. I mean, those of us who have been around for a while in Orange and have been used to what the previous palliative care was like in the old hospital. It was probably not the best there was, but at least it was a dedicated section in that hospital. I take on board what Councillor Greenhalgh says in regards to that. But I would like to back up what Councillor Whitten said about Councillor Taylor. I think he was an instigator, I think, of getting more than 10,000 signatures through this chamber to kick that off. And I think pretty sure that was one of the very first things that did occur. And look, I think it's a great cause.
Further discussion? That I will put the motion. All for? Against? Bear the motion. Well, thank you, councillors. That concludes the Finance Policy Committee meeting with the time being 19:51. I call on Councillor Whitten for the Infrastructure Policy Committee.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson. I would like to open the Infrastructure Policy Committee meeting for the 5th of August 2025. The time is about 8 minutes to 8. I note that we don't have any declarations for interest for this particular committee. We'll move on to item 2.1, minutes of the Major Projects and Infrastructure Community Committee meeting held on the 17th of June. Recommendation is on page 5. Moved by Councillor Greenhalgh, seconded by Councillor Peterson. Any discussion on this item? Being no discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 2.2 is the minutes of the City of Orange Traffic Committee meeting held on 8th of July 2025. The recommendation is on page 23. Councillor Mallard's the mover. Councillor Peterson's the seconder. On this item, no discussion. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Motion's carried unanimously. Item 3.1 are current works reports. The recommendation is on page 117. 117. Councillor Powers, the mover. Councillor Peterson is the seconder. Any discussion on this item? Councillor Greenhalgh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So thank you once again to the council staff for the updates. So there's just a couple of things I would just like to talk about. The first one being the Planetarium Conservatorium. How exciting that it's being fabricated in the United States and it's being shipped over. That's very exciting. But I think we all know we have to decide what we're going to fit that out with. And I think that's something we should be definitely pushing for, and it should be on the table for discussion. I really don't believe we can build it and just leave it sitting there empty. The expressions of interest that went out, we didn't generate anything from that. So I think that needs to come a time where we have a discussion on that. The second one, obviously, is the sports precinct. This council made a commitment to our community to deliver a first-class sports precinct by the end of 2026, in line with, the government's requirements at the change of government. That's 16 months away. And right now, I have serious concerns that we're not going to meet that deadline or deliver on the promises that we made. 2 years ago, the former mayor, along with Director Maundra and I, went down to Sydney with our glossy, beautiful sports precinct. We sold them a vision and told them what we were going to build here in Orange. And 2 years on, we're still looking at 8 sporting fields with some goalposts for a photo, and the rest of it is still a paddock. It's time to move beyond glossy concepts and put action on the ground. And let's be clear, the answer isn't staging more coverage and just photo opportunities. They don't equal progress. The community want to see the stadium rise stage by stage. They want to know this project is actually happening. And every single day, there's not a day that someone doesn't say to me, what's happening with the sports precinct? We also can't forget that part of this precinct includes delivering an athletics track. And anyone involved in this space knows that the surface has a very specific temperature window which it can be laid. If we miss that window, it could delay the entire project. That's exactly why we need to be all over this, with specific timelines tracked against actual progress. We urgently need monthly progress reports with clear milestones, key delivery dates, updates on the budget, contingency planning, and a realistic path to completion. We should be already preparing to bid for events like the 2027 Rugby World Cup. What a great opportunity to bring one of the teams out here for a couple of weeks prior to that event. Or the Rugby League Women's State of Origin series, which they want to try and keep in regional locations. But how can we do that when there's no stadium yet to showcase? The clock is ticking, the government expects delivery, the community expects action, and this council needs to ensure that we start getting it done. There's to's and fro's about where it's sitting at the moment, where it's sitting with Heritage, whether it's sitting with us, where the tenders are up to, and I think we just need to be across this. Particularly with an interim CEO coming in for 12 months, I think we need to make sure the finger is on the pulse with this.
Thank you, Councillor Greenhalgh. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to back up what Councillor Greenhalgh's saying there, and I want to go back to the planetarium. I think the planetarium should come back to us, hopefully at the next meeting or the one straight after. I think we need to make a decision on that. We've had no real interest from outside, from what I can gather. But I also want to go into the sports precinct. You know, we're talking $79 million. And as you know, most of the people that I deal with are involved in rugby league, cricket, and various different sports. And if you've been around a while, they're calling it another glass house. If you remember the glass house, that council was sacked, or the CEO was sacked, or something like that, because of that. But we also must remember that money was taken back off Dubbo because they didn't finish the project or didn't. I don't know what the circumstances were, but the money was taken back off the Mayor Josh Black and his council up there. But I just think what Councillor Greenhalgh has said is pretty spot on. We need, and I was hoping that the major project system that was in place would have that exactly what Councillor Greenhalgh spoke about, but that is not in there. There's just very brief discussion in that. So we don't know where we are up to with the tenders. We don't know where we're up to with how long they're going to be, how long it's going to take, and all those type of things there. I question the fact of how long we've been building this planetarium, conservatorium out here. I think we're well over 12 months. I'm pretty sure we might be well over 12 months. And I think our prime.
Why don't you ask a question?
I think our Prime Minister came here and turned the sods with Deborah O'Neill as well. But what we're building out the road is a lot better than that, and a lot bigger and a lot better than that. So I too have concerns about whether we're going to meet the deadline. Because if you go into the mayor's office in there, you're talking about 2024. Now we're talking about 2026, and there's question marks all over 2026. But that's just that's my.
Any further speakers on the motion?
Can I just have a point of clarification?
You can certainly do that, Mr. Mayor.
Can I just ask the director? My understanding is that those tenders closed on I think it was the 25th of August. There was a call for 6 tenders or something like that. I did a media release not that long ago. Can we get some clarification? And I believe the date was 27, not 26, for the sports stadium to be completed.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's correct. The tenders are due to close for the construction of the main stadium and the facilities adjoining the proposed athletics precinct, at the end of August. It is subject to determination by Heritage. That is just how it is. We've been working with Heritage since March of this year, talking to them consistently for the last 2.5 months since the DA was lodged. We're doing everything we can to help get a determination through that process. So some of those things are outside of our control, and we're obviously doing our best to expedite the timelines.
And just for a point of clarification, my understanding is that there's still works going on out there whilst we're waiting for Heritage. Are you able to comment on that?
That's correct.
And what type of works?
There's a big long list of about 14 different parcels of work. So the works that are being conducted on site at the moment include things like the Car Park 4, which is adjacent to the soccer fields on Huntley Road. That Huntley Road works, which includes the drainage and the road entrance points into the precinct. It also includes parking and curbs. It's all the ancillary things that need to go to build a sports facility. There's things like the lighting contracts are being issued for the multi-purpose lights, the electrical with Essential Energy. So we've had applications in with them for a number of months to have approval for that. We've done the irrigation work. There's about 12 packages of different work elements that we've been able to progress in concurrence with trying to have the DA determined by Heritage, which then will come to this council, which will then go to the Joint Region Planning Panel for their consideration.
Thank you.
Just a question from me to you, Director. I understand the heritage has always been a big factor in the sporting precinct, and it's not local heritage. Well, it's a bit of a mixed local and state heritage.
All state.
Yeah. Do they still have the ability to stop this project?
In terms of issuing general terms of approval, the panel, as I understand it, won't progress their consideration of the DA without those general terms of approval.
And that is just the football stadium element?
The current DA that's before that we lodged, which includes the football stadium, the car parking, the lights, the 2 change rooms, the facilities over on the athletics precinct, the canteen. So those initial buildings that we've progressing as in this part of the package to support the 8 multi-purpose fields.
Yep.
So that's all the current DA. That's all public. It's all been conveyed many times as to what this current DA is addressing, and it's been a public document since the start of May.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Chair. Probably the question through you to the Director as well. I take what Councillor Duffy and Councillor Greenhalgh have said, but my understanding that a lot of these sort of so-called delays are because it was essentially, pardon the pun, but a bit of a political football between local government. You know, was council controlling it? Was the state government wanting to control it? Then it was back to council. Is that? That's sort of, from my understanding, is that's tied up a lot of this time as well.
Through you, Mr. Chair, originally the project management for the project, we were mandated that it had to be through Public Works.
Right, yeah.
So Public Works oversaw the management of the project. That transferred to council probably 12 months ago. So we've had sole control of the project management for 12 months with support from others as we needed it. So I don't think it's been a political football. I think it was.
Okay.
I think it was. It's just much more efficient now than what it was.
Yep.
So that would be my comment around the change in the project management.
Councillor Greenhouse.
Question through you to Director Monda. So we need to lodge another DA for the actual athletics track portion.
That's correct.
So when will we look to do that so we don't get held up?
This one's determined.
We have to wait for this one to be determined first.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Ruddy.
Just a comment. I wonder if perhaps, based on what Councillor Greenhalgh and Duffy have said about, the community being concerned and being approached quite frequently, if it's worthwhile increasing the frequency of the major projects committee so that we're getting updates more often, so that we can then give those updates to the community rather than doing it every 3 months. That's not really a thing for here, but I just thought that was a comment. Councillor Greenhalgh is the chair of that committee, and it might be something worthwhile considering so that we're able to give updates to the community more frequently than every quarter.
Yeah, great thinking, but it should come directly to council. The committee's, with all due respect, the committee oversight. But this is probably the major project in the city next to the conservatorium, and I think it would be. I think it is. It's about getting that communication out to the community about what the real, suppose, leverages are that are holding it up.
If it goes through that committee, though, then it's coming here.
Yeah,
so we're
the heritage has always been a factor from day one, and all of the councils have been like, because if you consider. The sporting precinct is a project of, I'll stand corrected, but probably 3 terms or 4 terms ago, right? Even the projects, so all of the projects that this council is dealing with are projects from 4 or 5 councils ago, right?
Yes, Councillor Whitten, I know how it works.
So, this is why the community have known about these projects for a long time, and they're just saying, when are they going to be finished, right? So it's about, we've got to follow the bouncing ball and the project and the process, and it's about getting the information. Like, we're asking questions here about things that they would expect us to know. So it's about getting that information out to the community as well.
Which is what I said.
Heritage,
I think you must have misunderstood me, but that's okay.
But it doesn't need to go through the committee, right?
That's what
we
the
can deal with it in this policy committee here. Yeah. With those questions,
what that committee's there for. But that's okay. No worries. Thank you.
But we are the councillors elected to make the decision,
yes,
not
I'm
the
aware
committee.
Of that. Thank you, Councillor Whitten.
Thank you. Yeah. So we don't need to prolong the pain by giving it to a committee. Whitten. Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Peterson.
Yeah, I need to say, look, I believe the Major Projects Committee has been useful in getting some of that information, but reading the room, I hope that maybe staff would notice people would be keen for some more detail on it, and if we can provide that, that would be marvellous. Thank you. Oh yeah, and the next major project committee is September 16, just before this council meeting. So if you're particularly interested to come along and don't attend many committees, join, come along.
All right. Any further questions? Councillor.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chair. My question is regards to, we haven't really been privy as councillors to any discussions. I was under the impression that the Premier visited us, or we made a decision and said, hey, you build the stadium first. And, what is the actual case with that? I mean, I know we want the athletic track as quick as possible, but that's not the stadium. What he said, hey, you've got to build the stadium now.
I think
we're given the money for.
We've been briefed on those things.
Can we have an update of where we're at with discussions from various different organisations or various different ministers and whatever the case may be?
Well, I think the director has given us the realities of life. We know where we are. We know where we're up to. We just got to keep pushing. And as the director said, there's an element that is out of our hands, which is now going through that process, and we can't do anything until that part is done. So I think that question has been answered. So feel free to keep asking questions as we go along, but I'm sure the director is going to keep us briefed on where we're up to, because it is on everybody's mind at the moment. So, Councillor Peterson.
Thank you. I've got a question about a different part of the infrastructure. This on page 124, the hearing date for the Blackman Swamp water harvesting will be in December, so a whole year on that. I'm concerned about the delay to this water security infrastructure of Orange. We'd be quite happy to maybe chat in closed about our options to minimise and recoup any legal costs that council probably endeavours this long delay.
Through the chair, I'd be happy to discuss that in closed.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Any further questions? Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, just on a different topic. I want to congratulate the staff for putting up a new sign out at Springbank Lane. Well, it's a full one word. It took a bit of time, but congratulations to the staff. I think they did a good job on that one.
Could you just say that a bit louder?
But I want to ask the question to the director, and he can take it on notice and bring it back to the next council meeting. The last few days, where we had 3 or 4 wet days in a row, there's a lot of damage being done to our roads, especially along Woodward Street and other areas along Burrendong Way, and I know just out the road on Cadia Road. I haven't been out where some privileged people live on Huntley Road yet, but the situation is with this. I know that you can see when you're up and higher in a vehicle, you can see where these roads are going to crack and potholes are going to turn up. I just wonder whether we have enough money in the kitty or staff work crews to do that. And I know they're out there working now. My only problem with them working now is there's no stop-go people working with them. They've just got the signs going up and down. So whether that's an issue or not, I don't know. But could we have a report come back to the next council meeting?
Certainly happy to take it on notice, but I'll just inform councillors over the last fortnight we've put out 16 tonne of hot mix. We've diverted the construction crew to also be patching holes during this period. So we are responding to the failures within the road system at present. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm mainly looking at Woodward Street with the extra traffic going up there. It's copper hammering.
Well, that's what happens when it rains, Councillor Duffy. We live in Orange and we know the soil in Orange is pretty shifting when it rains, and certainly the staff are on top of it, but thank you for raising it in this committee. Any further questions? No further questions. I'd just like to thank the staff for the great work that is continuing to go on in the city with infrastructure. You're doing a great job, Mr. Greenham. Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. And I'd now like to, that concludes the meeting at about 14 minutes past the hour of 8. And I call upon, Councillor Greenhouse.
Thank you, Councillor Whitten. I'd now like to open the Recreation and Culture Policy Committee meeting on the 5th of August, with the time being 8:13. Item 1.1, declarations of interest. I don't believe we had any. Perfect. So we'll now move on to item 2.1, minutes of the Sport and Recreation Community Committee meeting on the 18th of June. There's a recommendation on page 5. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Steadman, seconded by Councillor Peterson. Is there any discussion on this item? With no discussion, I'll put the item. All those in favour? Unanimous? Thank you, councillors. That concludes the Recreation and Culture Policy Committee meeting, with the time being 8:14, and I'll call on Councillor Ruddy to conduct the Services Policy Committee meeting. And I would just also like to take the opportunity to thank Mr CEO for all his work. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you. I think you're very calm, very balanced and very approachable, and you're definitely going to be missed. So I don't want to see you sending us pictures of potholes though. With those little men around them while you're out riding your bike. But yeah, enjoy your time, and I'm sure your passion for our community will still continue. So we might see you on a few more committees.
Thank you, Councillor.
You're welcome.
I would like to open the Services Policy Committee meeting on the 5th of August 2025 with the time being 8:15 p.m. Item 1.1, declarations of interest. I don't think we had any. Has anything changed? Oh, we did have one?
No,
we didn't have any. Okay, sorry, you threw me.
Double negative.
Item 2.1, we got meetings of the NAIDOC Week Committee meeting from the 26th of June 2025. There is a recommendation on page 5. Do I have a mover? Councillor Steadman, second by Councillor Power. Any discussion on this item? Thank you. I will put the motion. 4. Item 2.2, minutes of the NAIDOC Week Committee meeting from the 2nd of July 2025. There is a recommendation on page 49. Can I have someone move? Councillor McDonald, and second by Councillor Peterson. Any discussion on this item? Thank you. I will put the motion. All 4. Unanimous. Thank you. That is it. Thank you, councillors. I just want to say something really quickly before we finish up. As some of you would be aware, there was some damage to the She Matters mural recently, not just in Orange, but also in Melbourne. I just want to say that this act is more than just damage to property. It is an attempt to erase a public memorial honouring women whose lives have been lost to violence. It is an attempt to silence an uncomfortable truth that violence against women, including femicide, remains a national crisis. The statistics that are displayed on that wall are not opinions, they are facts. They represent real women, mothers, daughters, sisters and friends. They represent families that have been forever changed, and they deserve to be remembered without interference or disrespect. I condemn this act, and in the strongest possible terms. To deface this mural is to show a complete disregard for the women that it honours and the families that are still grieving. It is also an attack on the broader community's right to raise awareness and to advocate for change. We cannot let an act of vandalism overshadow the purpose of this mural, nor can we allow it to silence the ongoing conversations that it represents. The women named there mattered, they still matter, and Orange must stand firm in saying so. Thank you. That concludes the Services Policy Committee meeting with the time being 8:18. And I call on the Mayor to conduct the Regional and Economic Development Policy Committee meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Ruddy. Time being 18 minutes past 8, I will now open the Regional and Economic Development Policy Committee meeting. Councillors, item 1.1, I don't think there were any declarations of interest. We now move on to item 2.1, minutes of the Clifton Grove Community Committee meeting held on the 5th of June 2025. There's a recommendation on page 5 to have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Kinghorn, seconded by Councillor Duffy. Any discussion? Being none, a show of hands. 4. Unanimous. Item 2.3, minutes of the Lucknow... 2.2, the minutes of the Spring Hill Community Committee meeting held on the 10th of June 2025. There's a recommendation on page 25 to have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Ruddy, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Any discussion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Much discussion there. I notice I'm well and truly happy to support the $3,000 donation to go to that. I believe a local resident out there looks after it on a regular basis as well. I think it's Kel Winnell. I think he does a lot of work out there for the local community, and I think any support we can give him, the better it is.
You, Councillor Duffy, and I agree he's a very good man, Ken Winnell. Okay, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous. Item 2.3, minutes of the Lucknow Community Committee meeting held on the 16 June 2025. Councillors, recommendation on page 47. And councillors, please note that part 2 of the recommendation and the request to determine the relocation of funding as outlined in item 4.2.1 of the minutes provided. Do we have a mover and a seconder?
I'll move.
Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Greenhalgh. Any discussion?
I'll move that it gets repaid.
Okay, we've got a mover that it gets repaid. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Greenhalgh. Any discussion? There being no discussion, I will put the motion. Do you want to say something, Councillor?
Oh, I'm happy to talk to it if you want me to talk to it.
Yeah, if you
but
like.
if there's no discussion. It was fairly strongly communicated at the meeting that the people in our community have footpath provided, so they were asking for a bit of a refund on their portion of the footpath, which, you know, it was fairly unanimous at the meeting, so I'm happy to support that. And yeah, it was a great meeting. It was my first meeting on this committee, and yeah, they're certainly a lively bunch, Councillor McDonald, so you've got your hands full with them, that's for sure.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Peterson.
I suppose just a quick question to clarify, because the footpath came in substantially under budget, Orange Council is not losing money on this. We're just sharing the windfall from having less money expended.
Ask Director Sharp for comment.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the $25,000 has to come from somewhere, and that would need to come from the existing budget for footpaths, which would mean that there would be $25,000 less spent this financial year in other footpath areas.
Thank you. Does that satisfy you, Councillor? Thank you. Any further discussion? Being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous. Thank you. Item 2.4, minutes of the Sister Cities Community Committee meeting held on the 1st of July 2025. Recommendation on page 67. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Greenhalgh, seconded by Councillor Mallard. If there is any discussion, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Two things. Firstly, the minutes of the 29th of April meeting say that there's going to be a report prepared for Council recommending the signing of the MOU with Zaporizhzhia Council. I'm just wondering, do we have a rough ETA on when that due?
We'll take that on notice to come back to you ASAP.
Okay. The second thing was page 78 of our papers, but page 8 of the minutes. There's a comment in there about participants in Orange wondered if the large extent of the conflict and when there were much more crucial issues to work on, whether it might be the right time to begin a new sister city relationship. So this is something that I put forward in the previous term of council, tried as a notice of motion and then was told to put it through the Sister City Committee, which is fine, there's a process. But that original push was actually for a friendship city, which is actually a level down from a sister city. And it allows for, and the reason for that was because there's this war going on, which is, you know, make allowances for the fact that one or both cities aren't actually able to commit to a full sister city relationship, hence the friendship city option. So I just feel like maybe that's got lost somewhere in the process. I mean, if there's a sister city relationship, that's fantastic, but I think the goal was initially start as a friendship city, knowing that there's so much that they have to deal with at the moment, and it was start there. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion and show of hands. Unanimous. Thank you, Council. That concludes the Regional and Economic Development Policy Committee meeting. Time being 24 minutes past 8. We'll now resume for the Council meeting. Council, as we go to item number 4, notice of motions, rescission, item 4.1, DV Safe Phone Initiative. There's a recommendation on page 24. Councillor Mallard, would you like to move your motion?
Yep, happy to move it.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor McDonald. Any discussion? Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, hoping this is a fairly straightforward one. I noted we're not the first council to get involved in the DV Safe Phone Initiative. If we do hopefully support the motion and get involved, I noticed in the local government newsletters that we get by email pretty regularly, Cumberland Council last month were donating 45 of their council phones and also setting up collection points at a couple of their customer service centres. Hepburnshire down in Victoria a little bit earlier in the year got involved as well. I'm asking staff to investigate opportunities, but I think there's a number of things we can potentially do that are very low effort, low resource and low cost. And I've listed some of them off there. Establishing donation collection points, my understanding from the info from DV Safe Phone, it's about, I think, $89 for a collection box for people to drop them off in, however many places we set those up, and then it's the cost of hosting those phones for DV Safe Phone to process and use them. If we have council-owned phones that when they reach end of life, we can look at donating, as well as encouraging the community to consider donating, and then importantly also promoting getting more partner agencies in the local area. I noted that OLELC is already listed as being involved with receiving these phones and supplying them. Any other DV service providers, the police station potentially, and things like that where they can be made available. So yeah, I'm hoping this, as I've noted, we've done some really important and significant efforts in domestic violence leadership in the last couple of terms of council. Commend Orange Motor Group as well, that they're listed as a DV Safe Phone drop-off location as well. But yeah, I think this is something where we can play a role of making people aware that this initiative is there and ways we can contribute to it, so that we're helping to support victim survivors by helping to facilitate for them to have clean, safe phones so that they can remain in contact with family and friends and support services. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Mallard. Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just curious about what happens now to old council-owned phones.
Would any director, Mr. Mayor, like to have a crack? I'm pretty sure that we have a collection mechanism with a proper disposal through net waste, but we'll take that on notice.
Okay.
They are not thrown out, put it that way.
The discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous?
The matter arising from that, and Councillor Mallard may know the answer to this, Mr. Mayor. Who makes sure that they're wiped? Mallard? Like when I imagine this organisation does that, because there's old data on, even when the SIM card's taken out, there's potentially photos and all that sort of stuff still in them, right?
Yeah, my understanding. I mean, that's part of the service that they do. So they facilitate it going out to other agencies to distribute it and those sorts of things. But yeah, their role is assess whether it can be refurbished for reuse. If it can't be, then it goes to e-waste recycling instead.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. We have a look at item 4.2, notice of motion, rail tourism opportunities. There's recommendation on page 27. Councillor Peterson, Kinghorn or Power, would you like to move the motion? Councillor Peterson, do you have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Councillor Kinghorn, any discussion? Councillor Peterson.
Yeah, just say this very quickly as read, just to give the context. A former mayor got in contact regarding rail services, and on investigation, it seemed like rail tourism wasn't an area we were taking full advantage of. For example, it's not ideal if a tourist train stops in Orange, everyone's fed on board, but they're not allowed out of the train to go to the restaurants. It all happens locally, but then the next day they go to Bathurst and have a off-rail experience then. So we wanted to put out there and see what we can advocate for our town and the area. There was a very good suggestion from the Rail Action Group about how the opening of the conservatorium next year is going to be a particularly memorable event that we need to have a big opening for. Rail tourism should come into that. That'll hopefully be part of the planning about what we're going to do to christen this great new infrastructure. Thanks.
Councillor Greenhouse.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, look, really happy to support this. I think as a community that's moving forward with tourism and so forth, I think we have so much opportunity. On a recent trip to Sydney, I was actually on the train from Penrith into the city, and a group of young boys jumped on with their mountain bikes, and just sitting there listening to their conversation, they were going from one side of Sydney to the other side of Sydney to go to a mountain bike track. And I could tell they were good mountain bikes because my son's got one. And anyway, we just got chatting and, you know, talking about the mountain bike tracks and stuff out here. And, you know, one of the boys had said he'd been out here. And look, I'm sure if we ever get to the stage where we have that rail facility, those type of children are going to jump on the train from Sydney and come out for the weekend just to go mountain bike riding. I think it's really untapped. So I think, you know, we really should capitalise on this and, you know, keep the push for more rail out our way. So thank you for bringing the motion forward.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to support the recommendation. I think it's a great one. But I have a number of questions. I think no matter what you do, whether it be Orange 360, whatever the case may be, we give them a fair, substantial amount of money now. I think we're nearly looking at $500,000 a year. Would that be correct, Mr. CEO?
Orange 360, Orange does donate in the order of $500,000.
Yeah, so
Blaney,
which is a
Blaney and Cabon donate
but I do
about
know
70,000.
when you take a train ride, whether it be on a tin hair or whatever it be, a food truck, you have to hire the track, and that's quite a substantial amount of money. I just wonder whether it was going to impact on council to provide more money for that type of thing to happen. But as I said, I'm quite happy to support it.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further discussion? Yeah, Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I'm happy to support it. Found like it's a bit all over the place. I'm not clear exactly what is going to come out of the motion, but I absolutely support rail tourism, support rail use, and as someone who travelled for work regularly on the regional train network to get down to Sydney, I'm very happy to support it. Just to go on the comment from Councillor Greenhalgh just reminded me that there's just been an announcement in the last few days that Transport for New South Wales are again for a limited time going to allow roll-on, roll-off use of bikes on the regional trains. So the XPT here in Orange and a number of other places, people are going to be able to take their bike onto the trains, basically park them on there. Usually at the moment, one of the big problems is to actually do that on the regional train network. You can't just bring your bikes on like on a metro train. You have to put it in a box basically and check it in as luggage. That is something where I think we, as part of our advocacy as a council, can maybe look to take that up to try and make that permanent. I know Bicycle New South Wales has been lobbying on that as well, but yeah, that's something where I can see we could feed that advocacy in to actually facilitate people conveniently being able to travel with their bikes. I'm not sure with when the XPT replacements come through what facilities they're going to have.
They do have
but clearly making sure that we're promoting those sorts of things. Thanks.
So Chair, can I ask Councillor Mallard a question?
Yes, go for it.
Councillor Mallard, as Chair of the Bicycle Committee, ask whether you have a bike yourself.
I do indeed now have a bicycle. I have an electric bicycle. It's brand new. I took it for its first ride on Sunday.
Excellent.
Yes, as Bicycle New South Wales said in reposting my social media post about that, I am attempting to walk the talk on active transport. I've long been an active pedestrian to the best that I can manage, but yeah, absolutely looking to replace as many, ideally all of the trips where I go from just over the railway line, get in my car on my own, drive somewhere else in town, carry nothing more than one bag. Yeah, all of those should not be car trips and can be turned into bike trips.
A good-looking bike. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I have to bring it in.
Thank you.
Once the weather gets
Show and
nicer.
tell.
Further discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Item 4.3, notice of motion, advancing menstrual equity in Orange, Shared Dignity Council Care Program. Councillor O'Reilly, would you like to move your motion?
Thank you.
Councillor Kinghorn is leaving the room.
I'm happy to second that, Mr. Mayor.
By Councillor McDonald. Discussion. Councillor Ruddy.
Please. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So tonight's motion builds on our commitment to menstrual equity, but also speaks to something broader, which is our role in supporting sustainable, accessible choices for our community. I would like to start by moving an amendment to clarify and strengthen this motion. I would like to propose that the rebate be offered as a 50% reimbursement on purchases up to $100 per household until the $5,000 allocation is exhausted. I don't think I said 50% in the original one, so I want to add that in.
Do you have a
Please.
seconder?
I'm happy to second that. So that's actually the motion now rather than an amendment.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I want to do.
Sorry, just to clarify, 50% rebate.
Reimbursement on purchases
Reimbursement, yep.
up to $100 per household until the $5,000 allocation is exhausted.
Like to continue to speak? Or
Please.
Yes.
I would like to propose that if successful, that when implemented, staff just collect some light touch data throughout the trial, just so that we can get an understanding of the uptake sentiment and where we can improve if we choose to expand the program in future. This trial rebate is about reducing financial barriers for people who want to switch to reusable period products. These products are not only more economical over time, but they also significantly reduce the amount of single-use waste ending up in landfill. Something going on with the way we all speak tonight. I don't think I need to sit here and speak about how people in our community are struggling financially. We all know this. I won't sit here and try to convince you that there are women in our community who are staying home from school and work when they have their period because they have to sacrifice period products so that they can pay their bills or feed their family. I'm also not going to sit here and tell you about how the women who have confided in me that they have had to improvise their period products with face washes and towels just to get by. Yes, there are products available for free in vending machines provided by council or dispensers provided by schools and some medical and community centres, but that doesn't mean everyone can access those all the time. That doesn't mean everyone knows they exist. Since raising the initial motion, I have had so many women reach out to me to thank me for bringing awareness to the product dispensers available because they didn't know that was even an option. This motion is about providing more choice for women in our community to purchase products that will last them for years, so they don't have to continue to rely on free product dispensers or the availability of free products around town. Reusable period products are a solution that we need to be able to support and encourage, we need to be able to support and encourage women to take up this option. Cost is one of the biggest obstacles. I realise not everyone in the room would have their head around how periods or how much period products cost, so I would like to provide some context. While there are a number of reusable and disposable products, I'm just going to focus on menstrual cups and tampons. However, I'm happy to provide more information about other products to anyone who requests it. One menstrual cup can cost anywhere from $30 to $60. These last on average 10 years. They can last longer if they're well taken care of. One menstrual cup is all a woman needs to manage her period. One cup for 10 years equals $60, which is $240 over a woman's menstruating lifetime of about 40 years. One pack of 16 tampons costs on average $5 to $8, One cycle may require 2 packs or sometimes more, which could cost around $16 a month or about $208 a year. The average woman uses 18 tampons per cycle and gets her period 12 to 13 times per year for roughly 40 years. This is a total cost of $8,320 on average, and roughly 9,360 tampons that go into landfill per woman in her lifetime. Tampons take 500 or more years to decompose. Based on some information that I got earlier this week, there is roughly, and I didn't write it down here, so bear with me for 1 second. I think it was 37 tonnes of period product waste that goes into our landfill in Orange alone per year, which is an absolutely crazy amount of waste. So we need to be encouraging more women to use reusable period products. Other councils in New South Wales are already taking the lead, including Wagga, Inner West, Ballina, Campbelltown, and Parramatta, who have all trialled or implemented similar programs. I didn't look outside of New South Wales, but I'm certain they exist there too. These are practical, evidence-informed initiatives which help communities improve wellbeing and also reduce waste. Realistically, this is low cost, but it could have a high impact, and it's squarely within Council's role of supporting health, sustainability and community dignity. I really hope to see this motion supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Greenhalgh.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As I stated when this matter first was presented to Council, my view still remains unchanged. I absolutely acknowledge the importance to access essential products, but I also believe there's already many existing services which you've made mention of, Councillor Ruddy, for those who are unable to afford menstrual products. In my role as a councillor, I've not received a single call or request for assistance on this issue, but what I do receive week in, week out is calls about potholes, rates, rubbish, DAs, the core responsibilities of local government. We also need to consider the precedent that this sets. If we step into this space, where does it stop? There are countless families doing it tough, single mums and dads who struggle to afford nappies for their children. We don't offer rebates or free products in that space. So I really tread lightly with this, like, is it going to become a council responsibility if we set this precedent? This is not about lacking compassion, it's about clearly defining what is and isn't the role of local government. And in my view, this is not a problem that council is best placed to solve. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I absolutely support this, and I completely disagree. It is definitely something that we, as the closest level of government to our community, should be advocating for. And those of us who spend time at conferences and professional development stuff, council, yes, fundamental roads, rates and rubbish, but we are so much more than that now. You know, you could use the same argument if we're not doing roads, rates and rubbish. Why are we stepping into the domestic violence space? Because it impacts people in our community. This impacts people in our community. This is a trial. I think we've looked at other things that cost far more money and with very little impact in the past. So I'm more than happy to support this as a trial. The data that Councillor Ruddy provided in terms of the costs, if a woman can access, you know, if she can have one menstrual cup, she's not going to have to worry about accessing the free, finding out where the free vending machines are. She's not going to get stuck down the street without something, or at daycare, or any of those situations. We need to be supporting vulnerable members of our community. And yes, women are part of that. Cost of living pressures. I just really think this is an opportunity for us to provide leadership and support for community. And again, it is a trial. We're not putting this in as a permanent thing at this stage, but we'll see what the uptake's like. You know, may not be any uptake. We don't know. But and in terms of who gets contacted by what, I think we could all councillors here would say that we don't get contacted by everyone in the community about every single issue. There are people that contact me about DV stuff, about environment stuff, about arts stuff, about all those sorts of things. They don't come to me about sports stuff because they know that's not my jam. But no doubt they would go to Councillor Greenhalgh for sports stuff. So I don't really know that that's a good litmus test as to what the interest in the community is on this issue. So I think it's a trial. It's a maximum of $5,000. I think it can make a huge, huge impact for women in our community.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson.
Yeah, as after the trial is done or as it's undergoing, I wonder if in future we might consider making, say, a small donation to a service like food care, specifically for such products. I thought the administrative burden of this, which is not what we normally do at council, might be high. We might get more bang for buck if we just donate money to a service that normally does such a thing. Happy to support the motion and see what the trial happens, but in future that might be something we consider.
Thank you. Councillor Duffy.
I've just got a couple of questions for the director involved.
Which director is it we're referring to?
Mr. Chair, it's hard to say. Let's hear the question.
Okay, my question is that I would tend to think, and I just know if it's been present for PNF and PNC, that most of the schools already have things in place for the young girls at schools. Is that correct?
Chair, I'm not sure a director would know that necessarily. We could take that on notice.
Yeah, that's.
Councillor Ruddy might offer an answer.
Department of Education rolled something out where all schools should have period products available for children if they need them at school. I'm not sure.
I can assure you, I know some certain schools didn't have them, and I know when I was on the PNF, we made sure that they got them. But I'm concerned, how much money do we have in the solid waste reserve?
Through Mr. Chair, I'm not sure Mr. Greenham would know that off the top of his head, so that's a take it on notice. We have a lot of money in the waste reserve, millions of dollars, but every dollar of the waste reserve, like the water reserve and the sewer reserve, is earmarked for a certain purpose.
Okay. Now, the other question is, and I tend to agree with Councillor Greenhalgh on this one here, we could be opening up a can of worms. What happens to our nappies? Do they go into the solid waste reserve? Is that money used for that as well? What's the story with that, Rick? Are we going to be providing money? I mean, I voted against councils getting a rise because if we're here saying that people are doing it tough, why in the hell are we, padding up our pockets and increasing the rates?
Would you like me to answer that question or the nappy question? Mr. Chair, would you like me to answer the nappy question?
Yes, please.
I'll have to take it on notice.
Thank you. We continue.
Yeah, at your next meeting.
Yeah, I'll look forward to I'll write you a letter.
We're taking that on notice, all of it on notice.
Through Mr. Chair, I'm not taking it on notice.
Before I vote to support this.
Okay, Mr. Chair, we're not taking that on notice.
Okay.
Would any director know the answer to the nappy question?
Make sure it's right.
Was the nappy question again, Councillor? Councillor Duffy? What was the nappy question again?
The nappy question was, are they considered to be solid waste as well?
As in reusables, or
no, well, not so much reusable. You have to put them in the bin and take them out and bury them.
Yeah, no, they're solid waste. They are solid waste.
Yeah,
I can confirm that without the director.
That could be the next question. That could be opening up the can of worms for those type of things there. And I can't see why we probably wouldn't wait till the trials finish at these places to see what they come up with.
Can I ask the relevance of nappies compared to menstrual products? Where is the connection?
The solid waste.
But that's not what the
money was going to come out.
That's not what the motion's about.
It's not so much the connection.
Continence pads as
what,
well.
what I'm talking about is why aren't we also waiting for what happens to the other trials at the other places as well?
They're ongoing. They're happening.
And you can't compare apples and oranges.
Councillor Duffy has the floor. What was your question, Councillor?
As I said, I can't see why we can't wait till the other councils have their trial period.
Because that's not what the motion says. Do you want to move an amendment to the motion?
I'm happy that we defer this until we have the results from the other councils.
Okay, so you want to move an amendment. Okay, do you have a seconder? Councillor Judge. Okay, do you want to speak to it, Councillor Duffy?
I think we've made myself quite clear that what the situation is. I mean, I'm not. If you support the amendment, you're not voting against it. You're saying is you're waiting for more information as to what happens in other areas. I know that there's a lot of other areas in the city and other organisations that provide the services and also the school provides services for that type of thing as well. So
Okay, thank you. Councillor Judd, you've seconded. Do you want to say something? Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. I'll speak against the amendment. There's a difference between the period products that may be available at schools and community centres or wherever those are. They are still single-use period products. The problem hasn't gone away. That is like a Band-Aid on a severed artery. It's not going to fix the problem. Secondly, just pure optics. We're talking about menstrual equality, and we've got two men moving to defer something that would address an issue in our community. I just think the optics of that are just really ridiculous.
Can we just stick to the points on?
Oh, it's an issue that affects women, so I don't think that deferring it, kicking it down the road, I think it's sexist, quite frankly.
Email against it.
Councillor, I've got the meeting. Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm speaking in support of the motion. I think, Councillor Ruddy, we're elected to support everybody in the community, and I think if there's people in the community, elements of our city, and who live in our city that are in need of this, it's a trial, $5,000. And I think it's if there's a need for it in the community, we're soon going to see the results from the trial, or not. So and I'm always I've always been an advocate for managing the fiducial responsibilities as a councillor for the ratepayers of the community, but that's everybody in the community. So and I'm not a subject matter expert on everything. So I take on board and I respect every single councillor who comes into this chamber, irrespective of and their views for or against a debate. And that's democracy at its best, right? Irrespective of gender. I think we should be able to come into this room and civilly discuss matters and have different opinions. But at the end of the day, the most powerful thing that we have is our vote. And I think this is worthy of at least a trial and to see what the results are. So I'll be supporting the motion.
Thank you. We're speaking for the amendment. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Mallard?
Yeah, I don't support the amendment. I think we're talking about a trial for our community, and I don't think waiting to see, and we don't know what information will come out publicly from what other councils are doing. We don't automatically have connections to get the results of what's happening with their initiatives, but I think we should be looking at initiating a trial for our community now. Thanks.
Well, any further discussion regarding the amendment? There being no further discussion, I'll put the amendment. Show of hands for.
2, 3.
Those against. The amendment is lost. We now put the motion.
Sorry, can I just speak to the motion now?
Yes, if you like.
Back to debating it. Yeah, just to quickly say I support it. Thanks, Councillor Ruddy, for all of the information you provided. And importantly, rubbish was mentioned as one of our core responsibilities. You made a clear case for how this is a way that we can look to support the community to reduce waste and reduce demand on our waste services. If we're talking about what costs our council money, we know our waste contract is massive. We know our landfill is something that is a finite space, and we need to be minimising how much we're filling it up. Yeah, maybe at some point there's something we can look at doing around nappies and encouraging people moving away from disposables and supporting them to be using cloth reusable nappies instead, but that's a separate conversation. But this is one initiative where we can try something out now. We can support people to take something where I think the convention and custom through much of the 20th century and into the 21st has been single-use products, chuck it out and we're done with it and we don't think about things. That's a method of thinking that we need to change as well. So in addition to supporting to overcome disadvantage and inequity here, we're actually doing something constructive that plays a role in our demand for our waste services as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor. Any further discussion before I put the motion? Councillor Ruddy, you'd like to sum up?
Yeah, I'll just close it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I just want to acknowledge some of the comments made. The other councillors which I mentioned are already doing this rebate, like doing it and have been doing it for quite some time, and it's ongoing. And a couple of the others ran a program and have since completed that program. And from what I could tell, it was quite successful in all those places that are no longer doing it. Councillor Mallard did take the words right out of my mouth. You know, we discussed that rubbish is a core responsibility. Orange has almost 10 million kilos of waste per year. And as I said, 37 tonnes of that is period products. That's almost 2 full shipping containers of waste that we can try to reduce. I think when we're talking about nappies and other things, if someone in this chamber wants to bring forward a motion to explore support for nappies, incontinence products, or even men's hygiene needs, I'll absolutely back it. But let's not use the absence of one initiative to justify the rejection of another. This isn't about who suffers more. It's about doing what we can with what we have to help where we know it's needed. Like I already said, it's a small but meaningful step in making Orange a place where no one has to choose between food or period products, and I urge you all to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, I'll now put the motion to show of hands for. Councillor Duffy, you for?
Yeah. It's on.
Thank you. Those against? 2 against. Thank you very much. It's passed. Councillors, we'll now go to item number 5, general reports. Item 5.1 is confirmation minutes from the Planning Development Policy Committee held on the 1st of July 2025. There's a recommendation on page 37. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Powell. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor McDonald. And we have Councillor Kinghorn returning, and welcome back.
Page 37.
5.1.
Recommendation on page 37, councillors. We've got a mover and a seconder. Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, my thing is I've made my point. Lucky we're not in the Environmental Act court.
Thank you, councillor. Statement, thank you. Okay, any further statements or discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Carried unanimously. 5.2, adoption of council organisational structure. Councillors, the recommendation on page 45. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Mallard, seconded by Councillor Kinghorn. Any discussion? Councillor Kinghorn.
Oh, yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I thought this was fine, but I did just note, because there was a bit of discussion in there about the Local Government Act, and I did just note that reading through that last time, it just says, so on page 150, so section 337, the General Manager may appoint or dismiss senior staff only after consultation with the Council. And 339 was the General Manager must at least once annually report to the Council on the contractual conditions of senior staff. I realise this is your last meeting, but I don't think that's been done in the time that I've been here, and I was just...
If you'd like to comment, you can. True. I'll take my parts on notice. However, the term senior staff, I believe, refers to staff on contract, senior contracts. All these directors are on award.
Yeah, I think that was going to be my point through you, Mr. Mayor. As at July and August last financial year. All of the senior staff, I was still in the HR manager's role at the time, all of the executive staff were given the opportunity to move over to the award, as was the change in the Local Government Act at the time, and all of our directors at the time. And then when I took on a directorship, took the opportunity to move on to the award, and so therefore we're no longer on contracts. Council was advised of that at the time in a closed session.
Sorry, are you saying the directors are not senior staff?
No, we are not on a contract. We're under the award.
But you were appointed?
Under the award.
There is a term, Chair, called senior staff, which I believe, we'll check this for you. I think we just check this. Senior staff refers to Public Service Thing West, senior staff on a 5-year contract, which is what directors were on. The Minister then said last year or whenever it was, you don't have to do that anymore. They can actually be on an award, and that term senior staff disappears from Orange City Council.
But it remains in the Act because there are some executive who chose not to move on to the award and retain their contracts.
Okay, so the GM may appoint or dismiss senior staff only after consultation with the council. That doesn't apply either. Is that what you're saying? Or
no, I can performance manage Director Sharp out without consulting with you. I've got 3 days to go.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
You're
All
in
right.
caretaker mode, mate.
Previously, if they were on that contractual senior staff, I would have had to, really have a very careful dialogue, particularly the mayor.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Kinghorn?
Well, I was just curious that it was in there and we haven't done it, so I was wondering why. I'm not entirely sure that explains it, but that's all right. I'll cope.
Thank you, Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Page 46, the structure. Technically, you're not a councillor. You're a popularly elected mayor. So you should sit above the councillors. Structure.
I thought I did.
I'm talking about in the picture, man.
Only in this room.
We'll get a 3D diagram.
But am I right? I suppose I need to clarify. Is my...
I think in theory you're correct.
Yeah.
And we...
Though fickle, I don't mind where I sit, to be honest.
Well, it's an org structure, so we've got to have it right because people use org structures for a lot of things, in courts of law.
Noted, thank you.
We need to make sure that you're the one that they take down, not us, right?
Thank you.
Noted, yeah.
Councillor Peterson.
Given we were on a statement, I thought it was a bit poor timing that the new CEO didn't have an opportunity to comment on the organisational structure before it's adopted. But I note that it can be reviewed at any time, so maybe that's something for the future, if you wills.
I'll discuss it with him going to Sydney tomorrow. Councillor Judge.
Through you, Chair, I've just got a question for the directors.
Is our director...
There's the 4 of them on here. If they're happy with the organisation structure before we do vote on that, if that's what they're all happy with, that's all. I'm just asking
Fairly
the
broad question, Councillor. I'm not quite sure whether...
Happy or not?
I think that's what they're saying.
All happy.
What was that?
Good question. Good question.
Satisfy you, Councillor Judge?
It does, thank you, Mayor.
Any further discussion, councillors? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous. Thank you. Item 5.3, value of membership. There's a recommendation on page 47. Can I have somebody move and second the report? Moved by Councillor Ruddy, seconded by Councillor Whitten. Any discussion? There being no discussion, I'll put the motion and show of hands.
Sorry, this is like
pause?
a pregnant pause. We're on 5.3, aren't we?
3 value
okay,
of
sorry.
memberships.
This seems to happen. I have no problems in supporting the JO payment. I still fail to see the value for membership from Merck at the moment. Now, the fact that this was provided at, essentially 11th hour again, like in previous at previous times that Merck has come up for discussion, I'm not seeing the value for money in it for a couple of reasons. So if you look at their website, actually, if you go to their whole charter, really, their constitution, their executive officer or their policy person is supposed to maintain the website. The most recent newsletter on the website that you can access is July 2024. You can't find any of the annual reports on there. It still lists Councillor Hamling misspelled actually as a delegate. We've got 17 or 18 odd councils there, paying about 10 grand, $170,000. I don't know what the executive officer gets paid, but I really fail to see, other than what was supplied at the last minute today, the last submission that I could find that Merck had put through, and again, this is from their website, was back in 2021. So I really don't see where the value is. I feel that if this was a new membership that was coming up to council for consideration that we hadn't been part of before, I really don't think that this would get across the line, because people would be saying, where's the value for money? So look, maybe I might be okay in giving it one more year to see if we can possibly have some evidence as to what they're doing, but I really can't see the value. And yes, it's only $10,000, but again, $10,000, not a period product. I just don't see the value for residents and ratepayers of Orange for membership to this organisation that really doesn't seem to be doing much for us. So I don't know. That's my piece.
Thank you. I might just ask Councillor Duffy a question, if that's okay. I understand you're chair of that committee, Councillor, and I did speak to you yesterday or on Friday and suggested that we ask Martin Rush to speak to the council. I'm just wondering how you went with those talks or the discussion with him.
I spoke with Martin after the event, and he said he didn't want to politicise the situation. I think if you read the document that come in front of that thing there, which was provided to council before the 11th hour, it was an email to the CEO or staff of the 11th hour. You read through that there, the previous 12 years, since 2008 or 2012, I think it is 2012, the previous government gave them in mining related councils and energy councils $560 million for that period of time, and it went to the members and they spent it where they were. I think from memory we received at the very last one, I think we got enough money to refurbish the Botanical Gardens. Is that correct, Mr. CEO? That's where it went? Sure it did. Now, we're in it, we have a new government who has absolutely decimated the resources for regions. Hey, it's not coming back. But they have another fund which they're setting up, which is energy and mining, another fund which is available to everyone. That's where we as an organisation are having discussions with the current government with regards to having X amount of dollars, anywhere between $80 and $100 million each year to go to the energy and mining councils, which is in the document that was provided, and that's what we're after out of the $600 million kitty that is there. And that's a great way of us negotiating with the government to get funding to finish the planetarium or whatever the case may be. There's no restrictions on that money where it can go. You must remember that 560, I think it mattered something like 800 and something programs or 560 programs that was with the money that we before in the previous 12 months. It's not uncommon for a government to can something that the previous government's done and come out and give it a different name, whatever the case may be. They want to change whatsoever. We have access to the Premier, we have access to a lot of the ministers, and we have access to a lot of the caucuses, and especially the Hunter caucus. We have the support of both the independents in Phil Donato and Roy Butler. And we also have a few of the MLCs on side. Now, there is you'll see a bit there as regards to what the campaign is. And what the campaign is that there's a lot of research to be done as to going to do research on case studies of how areas are affected. One of the affected areas is we're going to do a case study is on Orange because of the impact. We don't have a mine in our area, but we are impacted by the mines out the road because there's a massive building in our town. There's road issues in our town as well. So that they're going to do one of those, and then they're going to hope to do 5 to 8 or whatever the case may be. They'll do what they can to get the information together. We are quite confident that we will not need any campaign money to go ahead with it because there is a movement within the government that we have an ear to them and saying, hey, we're looking at, we're going to have to do something. Because we have the New South Wales Mineral Council on board, we have the union on board, and they're a very formal lot. But I would, and it's been pointed out to the Premier a number of times, and he's also said it plenty of times, there's this 4.5 billion, I think it is, a figure that they're going to collect over the next 4 years from mining royalties, and all that mining royalties comes from the bush. It doesn't come from the cities, and that's where they're taking the money and spending it down there in those areas down there. We're just asking for X amount to come back to our areas. And I am aware of what was previous happened at the previous matter that was happened with emails that went around. That matter has been resolved through John O'Wheaton and Martin Russ. They had discussions together, and they'll be working together to do that email. I know the Mayor of Forbes was quite upset because the original thing that was suggested by Blaney Council excluded them as receiving any funding. But at the moment, it's about energy and mining. The fund is going to be for $10,000. Yeah, not much money when you consider you could get 500,000 or even 2 to 3 million. I think one of the councils that got the last lot of money from the Resources for Region was Cobar, $1 million. But they've budgeted on that again this year, but they're not getting it. So we've got a number of councils are in the same boat as we're just a little bit lucky. We're a bit more financial than most councils. I'm not going to criticise any other council for their funding arrangement or what money they got in the bank, whatever the case may be. But I see this $10,000 as a really good investment.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I've been involved in the mines-related councils during when John Davis was chair, and I was against this because I felt that the monies were going to be used for the wrong purposes, for marketing purposes to make the government look bad because the resources fundings have been moved. Now, the whole idea of the mines-related councils is a lobbyist organisation on behalf of those councils who are occupied by mining, affected by mining. And during the time when I was involved, it was very successful because, there's a few people going to get offside, mainly all those people in this report, but I've got a habit of getting people offside, and I'm pretty good at it, right? So, but managed properly, run properly, the mining-related councils is very effective for regional and councils who in mining. But it's got to be done properly. You've got to actually get the mines on board as well. During that time, Newcrest Mining, who's Acadia, were very involved in the mines-related council process. North Parks was very involved. They actually were part of the mines-related council body. Because you're actually they use this forum also to get as a lobbyist arm to speak to government about what they want to do on their mine sites, right? So when it's used effectively, it is very good for regional New South Wales. And my only criticism now would be it needs to get back to what it's supposed to do. And that's representing those councils and regions by speaking and sitting with the relevant stakeholders to get a strategy that's going to, you're never going to win with Treasury. because all that money goes into consolidated revenue, right? But what you can do is work with the mines to figure out what percentage of that fund with Treasury about. You've got to put your case forward, right? These are the impacts that these mines are having, not literally the mines themselves through construction and mining, but they're growing, they're employing people. That means that they're living in Orange or Blaney or Millthorpe in our places, and the travelling and all those things. Infrastructure's got to have money. We've got to have money to build infrastructure to support those mines, and the mines do the biggest contributors. So, what I'm saying is that I'm supportive of the $10,000 as long as they get their act together and run the place the way it should be for their members.
Thank you,
Mr.
Councillor.
Chairman.
Thank you very
I think
much.
I've read.
Thank you, councillors.
Words don't mean anything. Actions are more. Right?
Yes.
You can give me as many documents as you like, right?
I'd just like to add that we have new members turning up, which are the Hunter Mining Councillors, which did leave the organisation a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. Muswellbrook and a few others are coming back on board. Which is huge for us,
Maybe.
and I totally agree. I totally agree with.
Maybe I should go back on there and rustle these blokes up.
Okay, I've got the floor. Councillor Stedman.
Excuse me, I've got a lolly in my cheek, I apologise. First and foremost, thank you for providing all the information. I would like to take on board what Councillor McDonald said and simply support this at only one more year and really start paying attention to what is our financial ROI. Because if there isn't any, we're out. And you can dress it up and say all nice things all you want, but if it means nothing for our community, I'm not interested. The end.
Thank you. Councillor Kinghorn.
Mr. Mayor, I agree with that. If we pay $10,000 in, we need to get at least $10,000 back, or we stop doing it. So as long as we've got the information about what it's provided going forward, then fine.
Thank you. Councillor Ruddy.
I just have one quick question. Councillor Duffy mentioned 12 years ago how much money came from Merck out into the regions. How much has come out in, say, the last 2 years, if anything? I haven't found anything in the report that says anything that we've got back from, or we've got out of Merck in, say, the last 2 years. 12 years ago is great, but that's 12 years ago. So
yeah, I'll just go ask the director. I think it was Resources for Region was the fund back then, which is no longer in existence, and here lies the issue.
Yeah,
is my understanding. What Councillor Duffy says is that Merck needs to be revamped to give us the opportunity to get some of those royalties, which are allegedly going back to Sydney and not being filtered into our local communities.
I'm just wondering how long that takes.
While there's been no new allocations over the last 2 years, the community has benefited from the previous year's allocations. So the Adventure Playground, which was opened recently, which was funded through the Resources for Regions program. Clergate Road, which was opened last financial year, was funded a number of sources, one of those being Resources for Regions. We have had significant contribution.
Any further questions? Yeah, Councillor
Can
Ruddy.
I just make one more comment? I'm happy to look at another 12 months. I think if we were to do that, as Councillor Kinghorn mentioned, that she would like to see, she's mentioned quite specifically an amount that would be reasonable. I would probably like to see some more, and I know that we get like the minutes and updates that come through, maybe some kind of presentation from Councillor Duffy as the chair to update us at a council meeting about how things have gone.
Councillor Duffy, you'd like to respond?
Yeah, I'll make a response to that. I believe the policy director in Martin Rush and he had other was with him and come and spoke to this council. I think we spoke with you and another councillor. Which ones was it? Had the opportunity to ask every other councillor.
Yeah, that may be so, but there were discussions at a different level within council, and which weren't privy to, the other councils weren't privy to that. So I think what the council is asking is when you go and chair one of those meetings.
Martin, we can easily direct him to come and address this council stage,
I did ask him to
but
come
not,
and he
not in the meeting. Not in the meeting because we don't want to be seen politically motivated. Councillor Whitten made the comment there. We don't want to be upsetting either side of government as regards to we want to be representing where the money's coming from, which is the royalties is what we want the share of.
Thank you.
Also the energy information as well. So since the its formation, policy director has been very heavily involved in rejuvenation basis and a number of other.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson.
Yeah, thank you. And look, very happy to get more information about this. My question when I saw this was, what's a membership? I thought back to the Arts Out West debate discussed not that long ago, which has a substantial annual cost with things that we would expect to have in return. So as a question on notice, given that the only two memberships that came up was the West Councils and Merck, I get information on any other similar long-term annual commitment, as they would also deserve scrutiny.
Just clarify, are you asking Council to get that for Councillor Duffy through Merck, or?
No, I'm asking for if Orange City Council have, you might not call it a membership, but an annual fee we pay to an organisation and then supposed to provide something. I can only imagine that our Arts Out West wasn't on the list because it didn't quite meet membership. There may well be other commitments that we have, and it would just be good to have that information when we are, considering this kind of, are we getting value for money spent?
Yeah, I think I know the answer, but I'll ask the CEO to.
So this goes back to Councillor Ruddy's motion, which said, could we bring any memberships over $10,000 to council? So these were the first two whose invoices were due. So the intention was just to keep rolling as the 10,000s came up and bring individual reports to council.
Happy to ignore that then if
it
wasn't the end of that. It's going to just keep going.
Arts Out West was a while back.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. So just to clarify, are we going to have a briefing or presentation by the chair or by Merck?
I can answer that. We'll discuss it at the next meeting. For that to occur.
Are you satisfied with the response, Councillor?
Yes, I was actually going to possibly. This will come up again in 12 months' time to us again because of the standing resolution. But
yes.
I was going to possibly put in an amendment, maybe, to suggest that prior to consideration of the next membership, that we receive a full report as to where the money goes. Look, I'm not against fighting for resources for regions or its replacement. I don't. That to me is not what this is about. This is about what are we getting for our membership. Because one thing we always talk about in this chamber, particularly a couple of councillors, is the connections they already have and have had for quite some time directly with members of either members of government or the opposition, and their ability to lobby. So I sort of, like, they're free. 1,000. So I guess, I don't know. That was just a bit of a brain.
I appreciate what you're saying. Councillor Duffy, I'm just wondering, to shorten the debate, are you able to come back to the next meeting with a date when your representatives from Merck can...
We'll have projected dates.
Yes.
No problem with that at all. But I just want to go and comment to Councillor McDonald, mate, as regards to that. I know that the previous mayor was with me and also Councillor Greenhalgh. We went to Canberra at a function and we went and saw a certain minister. Eventually, out of that came previous mayor being on a board which issues funding, federal funding. He goes down to Sydney on a regular basis to be upgraded with those connections work. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yes, bearing the time, can I ask, move an extension? Can I have somebody? Councillor Steadman, seconder. Councillor Power, all in favour? We go to 10 o'clock, councillors, if that's okay. Half an hour extension. Any further discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands. Unanimous. Councillors, move to item 5.4, Guideline Office of Local Government, Free Speech in Local Government. There's a recommendation on page 53. Can I have somebody move and second? Moved by Councillor Powell, seconded by Councillor Mallard. Any discussion? Councillor Kinghorn.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this was fine. Happy to support that. There were just a couple of things in there that I thought we probably should all think about. Well-functioning councils should not fear healthy public debate. They should be able to explain and justify their decisions and address legitimate community concerns. They should be mindful that comments that they make could be seen to indicate that they have formed an inflexible view on a matter, potentially making the council decision susceptible to legal challenge. I think we're all guilty of that sometimes, so it was good to read that just to remind ourselves that we should actually make the decision here and not be out there really vocal about things before the actual meeting. I thought that was a good reminder. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further discussion? There being none, I put the motion. Show of hands. Unanimous. Thank you. It's Councillor Duffy. Can we just make a note that Councillor Duffy is leaving the meeting?
9:25.
Okay, 5.5, extension of lease of Spring Creek Dam, Kinross Woolloomooloo School. Post-exhibition, there's recommendation on page 73. Can I have a mover and a seconder?
Happy to move.
Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Kinghorn. Any discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous? You in with us? Thank you. Unanimous. Item 5.6, council-related strategic policy reviews post-exhibition. Recommendation on page 75. Councillors, could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Steadman, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Any discussion? Councillor Peterson.
Very quick point that 1511.c notes it's an act of disorder to move a motion to deal with a matter that's outside the jurisdiction of council. It's a very broad term, as I think we've demonstrated in the last couple of councils. Who decides what's outside the jurisdiction of council?
Common sense.
Yeah.
CEO.
Common sense is not that common.
Thank you.
Now,
any further discussion?
Democracy is the answer.
Yeah, I've just got a few things on this one. Page 87, 4.13 public forum. Each speaker will be allowed 5 minutes to address the council. This time is to be strictly enforced by the chairperson. I'm just wondering if we can actually start to strictly enforce that and give officially and give the speaker a warning at 4 minutes so that they do keep it down, because so often it just goes over and it's just an automatic.
The public speakers?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The public forum. Yeah.
Talked about it.
We talked about it, but we don't. It's just routine now just to get an extension, and it's just good if we can reinforce when people say they want to speak to let them know that that will happen.
Yeah.
So I just think that would be good. Sometimes it goes on for a long time. The page 90, the audio-visual link. If a councillor is asking to attend by, through Teams, and it has to be accepted by the council to do that. The resolution must state why the councillor is being permitted to attend via audio-visual link. Is this compulsory? Because I don't do that. I just say, I'm away, I'm going to do it. So unless they're sick or something, then you're supposed to say why. So
Can you just point me to the clause again?
it's on page 90.
Yeah. Does it not say unless?
It's unless if somebody's sick or has child-minding responsibilities, they don't have to say anything. But usually if I'm away, it's not because I'm sick or I've got child-minding responsibilities, and I don't ever tell you why, and I can, but I just wondered, we don't normally do that, so.
Yeah, it's true, Councillor. You always tell me why, but I don't bring that to the meeting, do I? The question, I think, is whether I should then say why.
The resolution must state why. That's what it says. Yep, okay. I'd also like to propose that we change, so from page 107 in relation to rescission motions, they must be submitted to the Chief Executive Officer no later than 12 p.m. This has come up a couple of times, and I've only ever done one rescission motion, and I found it really hard to get it there by midday. And I'm just wondering if we can change that. Just take this opportunity. I was going to bring it before, but there was a bit of emotion involved about a particular rescission motion, so I thought it wasn't a good time. But it's just practical to change it to 5 p.m. if I can get somebody to.
I think or is it there's a difference between planning matters and also normal rescissions? Is my understanding?
Not in here. They would both be, clause 1710A would cover both, is my understanding. So the question here, so the answer is no, it would cover both. So if you decide to amend and make this change, just realise this has been on exhibition, so just be happy that you're happy to do that tonight.
Well, I would like to propose that because I just think it's logical and sensible and practical.
I'm happy to second that.
So the first bit of the amendment is on that page for that clause.
Yeah.
Is that where we're up to? Yep.
So to change it from 12 p.m. to 5
but
p.m.
Councillor Steadman and Councillor Donald will need to agree to that. Sorry, I'm talking, but I need to make notes. Yep.
Okay. Almost done. And
can we just clarify that one first, if that's okay? So we've got a mover and a seconder. They have to accept the amendment.
I just have a question, and given that it was just mentioned, this has been out on exhibition, so this is for adoption. Does that now then, if we adopt that, does that then need to go back out on exhibition again?
Chair, you want my personal opinion?
And
this is a matter for councillors.
And then the second point of that is that we are still awaiting the new model code of meeting practice from the OLG. So that we are going to get another code of meeting practice come to us in the within 6 months, maybe.
So the question is, do you accept the?
Well, I suppose. I mean, I'm happy to accept it, but if it's got to go back out on exhibition again, and then there's that thing about us having to adopt code of meeting practice within 12 months of a new council, this goes back out on exhibition, that push that 12 months. It's more of a process. Or do we wait until the new one comes out, goes on exhibition again, and put it in that new one on exhibition already, including that time? I suppose that's maybe Director Sharp might have an answer.
No, that is, sorry,
Chair,
Chair,
I suppose
you.
my question is about the 12 months.
Well,
Goes back out on exhibition.
Okay, Councillor, these are questions you need to ask yourself. If you go through and adopt all this stuff tonight, including those changes, yes, you'll be doing this again in a matter of months.
Yep.
But if you don't adopt it tonight, then nothing will change and there will be something. But you do have to adopt it within 12 months, and that window is closing rapidly.
The question is...
So we cannot guarantee when the Minister and the Department will release the new ones, so you better adopt this, otherwise you break that 12-month rule. Hold on, you asked many questions.
I did, yeah.
So it's a decision for you whether you want to adopt it tonight. My advice as a professional is you adopt this tonight in whatever form you like, and we'll see you again in 5 months.
Does it then need to go back out on exhibition, though?
No.
Okay.
Are you talking about the change?
About the change for tonight to
wait.
this particular thing.
Okay, so let's talk about the one change so far. Now, I don't think, in my opinion, that anyone out there really cares whether a rescission motion comes in at midday or 5 p.m.
Yep.
It's a matter for your administration. I would argue it would be acceptable not to that clause.
Okay. I'm happy to...
Accept.
Happy to
Councillor
accept.
Stebbin, you happy?
No arguments.
Thank you. Councillor Kinghorn, would you like to continue?
I'm trying to understand the process.
That's the motion.
so this last
Apologies,
bit,
Councillor.
I may be better doing this as a matter arising. I'm not sure, but I'll say it now anyway, and you can tell me whether I need to do it later. Page 110, Chairperson and Deputy Chairperson of Council Committee, so 20.11. The Chairperson of each committee of the Council must be A, the Mayor, or B, if the Mayor does not wish to be the Chairperson of a committee, a member of the committee elected by the Council, which is what we've done. I'm speaking as the Chair of the Economic Development Community Committee. When I was selected as the Chairperson there, the Mayor did say that he would like to be the Chair of that particular Council, and he's not. So I'm just pointing that out because it wasn't obviously done properly at the time, and I'm happy to step down if the Mayor would prefer to be the Chair.
Can I please draw Councillor Kinghorn's attention to 20.1? This part only applies to committees of the Council whose members are all councillors. So it applies to the policy committees, not to the community committees.
Sorry, what page is that then?
Top of 110, 20.1.
Yeah, accounts. Applications of
Section 20 on council committees only
the whole
applies
bit.
to
Okay.
committees that are only made up of us, not community committees.
Oh, good. Oh, okay. Oh, that's fine. I just saw that and thought, oh, no. All right. Okay, just scrub that bit then.
There
Thank
you
you. Apologies. Okay, I'll stop talking.
the motion includes a change to page 107, clause 1710. Timing of decision motions, which will, if adopted, will be 5 p.m.
Okay, so we've got an amendment. We're going to now...
We've got a motion. So
Sorry, we've got a motion. We're going to put the motion, a show of hands for. Unanimous. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to interrupt and say that I'm going to leave and join this on Teams. The reason being just to start my routine. I'm sorry I won't be able to join you for dinner. Pass it on.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
I'll back in about.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to item 5.7.
Yep.
Policy review, event underwriting fund, post-exhibition. There's a recommendation on page 115. Do I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Powell, seconded by Councillor Mallard. Any discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for.
Just wait for Councillor Peterson to get in.
Yeah, I don't have to. We've got a quorum. He said he was going to join with something else.
It's 11 votes.
When closed, yeah.
Here.
Yeah, Councillor Peterson, we're just discussing item 5.7, policy review, event underwriting fund. There's been a motion put, seconded. Just after your vote there.
Happy to vote in favour. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. That's unanimous. It's 11 because Councillor Duffy had to go early.
Oh, yes, how quickly one forgets.
Okay, we go to item 5.8, strategic policy reviews. There is recommendation on page 123 and 124. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Mallard, Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Ruddy. Any discussion? There being no discussion, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. And it's got Councillor Peterson on screen. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay.
Councillor leaving the room at 9:36.
Okay. All right. The Chief Executive Officer will now advise Council if any written submissions have been received relating to any item advertised for consideration by a closed meeting of Orange City Council.
I've received several submissions. I always wanted to say that. I've actually received no submissions, Mr. Chair.
In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993 and the Local Government General Regulation 2021, in the opinion of the Chief Executive Officer, following business is of kind as referred to in section 10A2 of the Act and should be dealt with in confidential session of closed meeting close to the press and the public. Item 6.1, minutes of the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee held on the 4 June 2025 is classified confidential under provisions of section 10A2F, matters affecting security of council, councillor staff or council property. 6.2, submission redaction report of the 5 August 2025 is classified confidential under the provision of section 10A 2E, information that would, if disclosed, prejudice the maintenance of law. I have somebody move and seconded by going to close. Second, moved by Councillor Ruddy, seconded by Councillor Mallard. We will just wait, councillors.